Chapter 1076. For a moment, Mo Wu Dao felt as if he had swallowed a fly. His handsome and gentle face could not help but twitch a little. He forced a smile and said, "Manor Lord Jun really values our 3 holy lands a lot, ah? Not at all, not at all. The 3 holy lands are respected and respected by the world. This seat knows this very well, and it can be said that I'm filled with reverence every single day, ah." Jun Moxie sighed. A burst of uncontrollable laughter rang out in the hall. Jun Moxie's utmost reverence was truly remarkable and had a profound meaning behind it. Indeed, under the pressure of the 3 holy lands, this evil monarch had truly been filled with reverence during this period of time. But now that things had changed, it seemed like the people who were truly filled with reverence were not just the evil monarch Manor. Most people in the pugilistic world have to display their powerful martial prowess when establishing a sect. This is also the difference between the pugilistic world and the secular world. Mo Wudao smiled warmly, as if he was thinking for Jun Moxie's sake. You must know that in the pugilistic world, martial prowess is still the most important. The bigger the fist, the bigger the reason. No matter how ingenious one's schemes are, or how eloquent one's mouth is, even if one can gain the upper hand for a moment, it is ultimately not the right path, and ultimately cannot be compared to the sharpness of a steel blade. What does Manor Lord Jun think of this seat's words? Since he'd lost in terms of words, he'd have to regain it in terms of martial prowess. Mo Wudao was never willing to suffer a loss. Although he did not look around, but Mo Wudao could clearly see what everyone was thinking in their hearts. No matter what they were thinking now, as long as the evil monarch Manor could not withstand a single blow in terms of martial prowess, even if he lost in terms of words, everyone would know what to choose. Sovereign's words naturally make a lot of sense. Sect leader Mo's speech was truly thought-provoking and enlightening. This seat looks up to a high mountain and is ashamed of my inferiority. Jun Moxie smiled warmly and said, "Speaking of the martial prowess of our evil monarch Manor, it is indeed a little weak. I'm ashamed. Everyone present curled their lips. Dispatching 300 saints of the Holy Emperor to welcome the guests, how could this be considered weak? How strong do you want to be? Any one of these people would be able to dominate a region with just a slight movement of their mouths and aura without even needing to make a move. Manor Lord Jun's words are a little too humble. The strength that the evil monarch Manor possesses can be said to be known by everyone. They are truly one of the strongest forces in the world." Mo Wudao smiled faintly as his gaze gradually focused. "It's just that this sect lord does not know the purpose of Manor Lord Jun's opening ceremony this time. What is your goal?" The real show was about to begin. Everyone opened their eyes wide and straightened their backs, listening attentively to Jun Moxie's reply. Although the evil monarch was insufferably arrogant, and the forces he possessed were indeed powerful enough to show disdain for the masses, but compared to the 3 holy lands, he was still lacking by a thread. After all, the Holy Lands were deeply rooted and had 10,000 years of history. The future development of the evil monarch Manor would be decided by this sentence of Jun Moxie's. And the 3 Holy Lands would also make corresponding adjustments on how they would interact with each other in the future based on Jun Moxie's reply. Sect Lord Mo's words seem a little unnecessary. Jun Moxie chuckled lightly and said resolutely, "I, Jun Moxie, have always adhered to a single principle. No matter what I do, unless I don't do it, I must do it to the best of my abilities. To the highest. To the highest." This answer was like a sudden clap of thunder. Everyone was a little dazed at this moment. After a long time, Jun Moxie's words seemed to be reverberating in the entire hall. To the best of my abilities. To the highest. To the highest. Saying these 3 sentences in the current situation was equivalent to declaring war on the 3 holy lands. My principle is, I want to crush you. I want to defeat you. I want to ride on your heads. Because right now, you are the peak that everyone acknowledges, the peak that is right before their eyes. Crazy, the same thought appeared in everyone's mind. This was the only evil monarch who could only be heard but not seen. Had his head been kicked by a donkey, on the day of the opening ceremony he made such an unyielding and resolute declaration, leaving no room for retreat for himself. Manor Lord Jun's words are so convincing. As expected, you are young and full of vigor and ambition. Mo Wu Dao's words were clearly saying that Jun Mo Xie's mouth was hairless, and he was not reliable. He continued, but this path to the peak has always been arduous. The slightest carelessness can cause the boat to capsize and the person to perish. Those of us who have been on this path before know it the best. Mo Wu Dao's words seemed to have the intention of guiding the younger generation, but he was actually trying to say that although the evil Monarch Manor's name shook the world and was like the sun in the sky, it was actually a new faction that had just started out. They might not be able to go far on this thorny path. And the 3 holy lands that he represented were already at the end of this path, far superior to the Jun family. Sovereign's words are extremely true. Mo Xie has the utmost respect and admiration for the founding seniors of the 3 holy lands. Jun Moxie sighed. At the end of the day, Mo Xie is someone who started from scratch, bare-handed, with a weak foundation. If only I could be like Sovereign Mo and have 10,000 years of accumulation, not needing to worry about anything, and be at the peak from the start, how great would that be? On the surface, Jun Mo Xie's words were praising the founding seniors of the 3 holy lands. But in his heart, he was mocking the arrogance of the people of the 3 holy lands. They were the ones who had truly walked this bumpy path. What does it have to do with you people who are sitting around and enjoying the fruits of others' labor? And you still have the cheek to say that you've experienced it? How shameless! The moment these words came out, even with Mo Wu Dao's calm demeanor, his expression changed greatly. But Jun Moxie was praising the seniors of the 3 holy lands just now, and Mo Wu Dao could not refute it no matter what. If he did, he would have to bear the infamy of forgetting his roots, and could only swallow this grievance in silence. But Jun Moxie was still unwilling to let the matter rest. He continued to say in an envious manner, I heard that ever since Sovereign Mo took office, you've been developing vigorously, allowing the hermitage to maintain its position within the 3 holy lands, and its reputation has not fallen at all. And although it hasn't risen, but this also proves that Sovereign Mo is a rare talent. Don't people often say that it's hard to start a business, but it's even harder to maintain it? I wonder if our manor will have a talent like Sovereign Mo in the future. Jun Moxie's words that seemed to be praising but were actually derogatory was extremely sarcastic, directly insulting Mo Wu Dao. Although Mo Wu Dao was usually calm, he finally could not hold it in any longer. He said coldly, if you want to become a peak-level force, you must have the strength of a peak level, and our 3 holy lands are the publicly acknowledged peak existences in the world. Originally, the evil Monarch Manor's strength was like the sun in the sky, and there was no doubt about it. But as the saying goes, what you hear may be false, and what you see is true. Why don't the few of us have a spar, and let all the heroes of the world witness the strength of the evil Monarch Manor with their own eyes? This spar will be a congratulatory gift from the 3 holy lands to Manor Lord Jun. How about it? This Jun is really a little ashamed to accept Sovereign Mo's congratulatory gift. Jun Moxie chuckled and said, however, the subordinates that I've trained are all rough and unrefined men. Their foundations are not as solid as the experts of your side, and their foundations are not as deep as yours. It's inevitable that they will not be able to hold back when they attack. If there are any casualties, that would greatly damage the harmony between us. Mo Wu Dao's face finally darkened. Manor Lord Jun is really confident. I don't have much confidence. Jun Moxie said lightly. It's just that the establishment of a faction is a joyous occasion, but on the day of the opening of a faction, if there isn't a little bit of blood, it's not very auspicious. Since Sovereign Mo is in the mood, let's let them have a spar and experience the splendor of the 3 holy lands. It's also good. My subordinates are all rough and unrefined men, their skin is rough and thick, and they won't need to take a few punches and kicks. Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. For such an important ceremony, regardless of whether it was the opening of a faction or a birthday banquet, the most taboo thing was to see blood. The moment it appeared, it would be seen as an inauspicious omen. But this evil monarch actually said something like, not seeing blood is not very auspicious. What kind of fallacy was this? Just at this moment, a white-robed man slowly stood up. Looking down, a cold and arrogant aura slowly emanated from his body. Subordinate of Hermitage, 3rd grade Holy Emperor Duan Chong Feng, awaits your instructions. 3rd grade Holy Emperor. Jun Moxie smiled lightly. Old Eagle, the gifts of the esteemed guests from the Holy Lands have arrived. I'll leave this matter to you. You must serve our guests well. Do not let others say that we lack etiquette. Solitary Eagle, who was in the hall, laughed heartily. Manor Lord, rest assured. I'll definitely arrange everything well. The challenge of Hermitage, Jun Moxie had actually directly handed it to his subordinates to arrange. The meaning behind this was already self-evident. In the eyes of this evil monarch, no matter which faction from the 3 Holy Lands, they were no longer worthy for him to personally take action. In fact, he didn't even have the qualifications to personally arrange it. Although the expression of that 3rd grade Holy Emperor Duan Chong Feng, who had just stepped out to challenge, remained calm, a sharp glint flashed in his eyes. When the evil monarch Manor came out to battle later, he must definitely take down the person who stepped out with a thunderous momentum. Aren't you looking down on me? Then I'll let you receive the cruelest lesson. The opponent is a 3rd grade Holy Emperor. This seems a little difficult, Solitary Eagle furrowed his brows and thought deeply. Suddenly, he came to a realization and called out. Heaven Destroyer, a few captains, come in. Following his words, the Heaven Destroyer and Spirit Devourer members who were originally welcoming the guests at the entrance instantly swarmed in. My apologies. Solitary Eagle said guiltily. I've been thinking about what level this brother should be at, so that I wouldn't bully him during the spar. After all, he's a guest from afar, and it's not good to neglect him. But it's even worse if I bully the weak. Now that I've finally remembered, this brother Duan's cultivation should be around the same level as the captains of our evil Monarch Manor's guards. That's why I've been delayed for some time. Everyone, please don't blame me, please don't blame me. I'm getting old, and my memory isn't very good. Looking at this fellow who kept bowing and apologizing, everyone was completely speechless. Hermitage's 3rd grade Holy Emperor was only equivalent to the evil Monarch Manor's guards? What kind of fucking analogy was this? Update completed for today. Chapter 1077. Alright, let me experience this squad leader's skills. Duan Chongfeng's face was already green. He recognized Solitary Eagle, the last of the 8 great masters of the continent. If this person was said to be old by the people of the continent, it would still be acceptable. But he was already 800 or 900 years old, and this 80 or 90-year-old kid actually dared to call himself old in front of him. This was too much. Zhang Denyo, I'll let you go. Take good care of the guest and be more careful. Don't let our Lord Jun lose face. Solitary Eagle pointed to a burly man with a curly beard and instructed. Then, something that no one expected happened. Unexpectedly, this squad leader called Zhang Denyo said unwillingly, Old Eagle, are you kidding me? I'm a squad leader, and you want me to deal with this kind of trash? How do you want me to keep a foothold in front of the brothers in the future? Duan Chongfeng's eyes rolled back, and he almost fainted from anger. A dignified squad leader. Do you really think that you're a squad leader? How high of an official do you think you are? Shut up, shut up. He's a guest. Solitary Eagle was enraged and roared. Why are you so idiotic? Letting an idiot like you go is giving you face. Bastard, do you want your squad leader to personally deal with this kind of trash? Do you want this old man to spend time and effort to find someone more idiotic than you to deal with him? Everyone laughed at the same time. These words were really too unique, too classic, and this squad leader's name, Zhang Denyo, was really too festive. A level 3 Holy Emperor of Hermitage, one of the 3 Holy Lands, this idiot was enough to deal with him. But they didn't know that this squad leader's real name was really Zhang Denyo. In reality, all the members of the Heaven Destroyer and Spirit Devourer were originally direct descendants of the Jun family. They were soldiers who had fought their way through the battlefield. This person was no exception. His family had been poor since he was young, and his parents were illiterate. How could they have come up with a good name? They could only use the name Zhang Denyo. Wasn't it easier to support a lowly name? I know I'm not smart, and I'll accept that you call me an idiot, but I'm a squad leader after all. My status is very high. Squad leader Zhang Daniu was still mumbling, as if he felt that this matter had lowered his status. I don't care if you are Zhang Daniu or Zhang Xiaoniu, quickly come up and die. Duan Chongfeng was so angry that he was about to vomit blood. Zhang Daniu is my younger brother. He didn't join the army and is farming at home. He doesn't know any mystical techniques, so why are you being so arrogant with him? Zhang Daniu looked at Duan Chongfeng unwillingly. You are also a level 3 holy emperor, why are you speaking so carelessly? Oh, so you are the same as me at the middle level. That's not too bad. Let me ask you, what is your position? What position? Duan Chongfeng was so angry that his head was spinning. The Holy Emperor was already focused on his cultivation in the 3 Holy Lands. What position would he have? Who would dare to assign a position to the Holy Emperor? They wouldn't even have the time to worship him. I am the 5th squad leader of the evil Monarch Manor's outer perimeter guards, Zhang Daniu. Zhang Daniu said arrogantly, looking at Duan Chongfeng as if he was a superior looking at his subordinate. Under me, the deputy squad leader is a level 3 holy emperor. There are also 4 level 2 holy emperors, 6 level 1 holy emperors, 8 level 4 saints, and a total of 19 subordinates. Including this squad leader, there are a total of 20 people. Internally, I'm responsible for guarding the evil Monarch Manor. Externally, I'm responsible for everything from Tiannan to Tianxiang. Zhang Daniu introduced himself proudly. In other words, as long as this squad leader goes out, I will be the so-called governor. As he said, he looked at Duan Chongfeng from the corner of his eyes. Actually, I didn't want to come out. In the past, when I met people like you, it was always my subordinates who swarmed up to settle them. For me to take action personally, it's really a little, as he said, he furrowed his brows, as if he couldn't think of a suitable adjective. After thinking hard for a while, he clapped his hands and said happily, how can you use a knife to kill an ox? How can you use a knife to kill an ox? There's even such an idiom? Everyone burst into laughter. This Zhang Daniu, who even said an idiom wrong, actually proclaimed himself as a governor, but no one dared to laugh out loud. This person might not be knowledgeable or even not smart enough, but he had the cultivation of a level 3 holy emperor. If he roamed the world, not to mention governors, all the emperors in the world would probably cry and beg to curry favor with him. Directly conferring him the title of retired emperor was not a rare thing. Acknowledging a level 3 holy emperor as his father, who would care who his original father was? But such a 3rd level saint emperor was only one of the captains of the guards in the evil Monarch Manor. And there were still 14 captains like this in the evil Monarch Manor. And the weakest of his subordinates were saints. This level of strength was simply too shocking. This was too inconceivable. Scram out and receive your death. In a fit of rage, Duan Chongfeng dashed out. With a flash of white, he had already disappeared from the hall. Seeing that the other party had already left, Zhang Daniu, who felt that he had lowered his own status, had a face full of reluctance. But he still walked out with large strides. In an instant, everyone heard loud banging sounds from outside. Clearly, the two of them had already started fighting. Everyone couldn't help but be stunned. This situation was somewhat unexpected. It was very rare for a battle between experts of the level of a holy emperor to start with a physical fight. Most of the time, it would be a battle of aura first. Once the aura was used to determine the victor, the difference in strength between the two sides would also be revealed. Even if they really fought in close combat, it would usually be done at a certain point. After all, experts of the level of a holy emperor were not cabbages. If they really fought with their lives on the line, any faction would not be able to afford the losses if there were any casualties. But this situation right now, it was too explosive and too rare. Everyone present felt as though they were sitting on pins and needles. It was not only the people from the 3 Holy Lands who were worried about the battle. Even the others were similarly enthusiastic about this battle, and their urgency might not be any less than the people from the 3 Holy Lands. To everyone present, experts of the level of a holy emperor were existences that they could only look up to. There was no exception. As for a battle between experts of this level, it was even more so 100 years. It should be a grand event that was rarely seen in 1,000 years. Since they had such a grand opportunity today, if they didn't go out and take a look, how would their hearts be at ease? But if they went out, their butts would still be sitting on the banquet chairs of others. Not to mention the fact that they had just received 2 huge gifts from the other party. The austere heart orchid had actually been given to each of them, and they had even wrapped it up in snow silk and kept it in their sleeves. Could it be that they were really going to slap the face of the other party? With this thought, they forcefully suppressed the idea of going out to watch the battle. It seemed like being seen as a slap in the face was secondary. If they were to be viewed as enemies by the evil Monarch Manor because of this, how good would that be for them? No one would die if they didn't go out to watch the battle. But if they offended the evil Monarch Manor, they would definitely not be able to get away with it. Just at this moment, the tent at the entrance suddenly parted to the 2 sides. At the same time, the entrance also rose up. The guests who were facing the entrance instantly had a clear view of everything that was happening on the field. There were also a few large mirrors that were about a zhang wide reflecting each other. Everything that was happening on the field could be seen clearly. No matter where they were fighting, as long as they had not left the courtyard, they would be able to see everything clearly. This sort of intricate design caused everyone's eyes to light up. But Mo Wudao's face suddenly darkened. He, who was a deep thinker, had obviously thought about many things. The other party had obviously already guessed this move of his and had even made such an intricate arrangement in advance. From this, it could be deduced that the higher-ups of the evil Monarch Manor were definitely very optimistic about this battle. Shi Ruochen's face also darkened instantly. He frowned and looked at Mo Wudao, but he did not say anything. Instead, he fell into deep thought. Coming here today, all sorts of things were not going well for him. They wanted to make use of the other party's carelessness to incite the anger of the masses and cause everyone in the world to gang up on them. But time and time again, the enemy had used their own methods to attack them. And this time Spar had obviously fallen into the other party's trap. The future was not very bright. The current situation could be said to have fallen into a predicament where they could neither advance nor retreat. If they continued to advance, Shi Ruochen was sure that they would definitely face the other party's sharp counterattack again, and it might even be more embarrassing than now. The purpose of the 3 Holy Lands trip was naturally not to shed all pretenses of cordiality with Jun Moxie and start an all-out war. After all, the 3 Holy Lands no longer had the ability to deal with the war for seizing the heavens on their own due to their previous losses. But if they wanted to win this battle, they needed to borrow the power of the Jun family. But the 3 Holy Lands were still unwilling to acknowledge that the evil Monarch Manor had the same status as the 3 Holy Lands. And to achieve this goal, it was not advisable to use force. That would definitely cause more casualties, and they might not even have a chance of winning. So that was why Mo Wudao had repeatedly pointed out the evil Monarch Manor's carelessness, hoping that the world would stand against the evil Monarch Manor. If this plan succeeded, the evil Monarch Manor would lose their status as a superforce even if they did have the power of a superforce. But the current situation was completely different from what the 3 Holy Lands had predicted. The ones who were placed on the opposite side of the world was not the evil Monarch Manor, but the 3 Holy Lands. The Holy Lands still did not have any chance of winning the battle against the Holy Emperor. If they were to suffer losses because of this, it would definitely make the already difficult situation even worse. But if they were to retreat just like this, how could they be willing? They were facing the eyes of the world's heroes. If they retreated, it would be equivalent to the 3 Holy Lands being forced to acknowledge the evil Monarch Manor's status as a superforce. And it would also be an invisible blow to the original prestige of the 3 Holy Lands. The previous situation of no one dares to disobey orders would no longer exist. If they wanted to do anything in the future, they would have to be prepared to bear the infamy. Furthermore, Mo Wudao's side might not be willing to retreat. Just last night, Mo Wudao paid his respects to his deceased brother Mo Xiaoyao again. Although he did not say a single word during the entire process, both of them knew what this meant. Chapter 1078. The two of them were fighting fiercely in the arena. Both of them were indeed experts at the level of the Holy Emperor. Mystical arts, techniques, they were all at ease. Everyone could only see them exchanging blows, but from start to finish, they could not hear any whistling of the wind. It was as if the two of them were just sparring and did not use any true power at all. However, wherever the two of them turned, there would be streaks of vacuum darkness following their punches and kicks. They were like black holes that flashed and then disappeared. Everyone's eyes were wide open. This phenomenon had long surpassed the understanding of everyone present. The only thing they knew was that the two of them were definitely going all out. Moreover, they were using the strongest strength that they had comprehended with all their might. Those streaks of vacuum darkness should be the terrifying traces caused by the legendary power of heaven and earth. Although the situation of the battle seemed to be ordinary, it was actually extremely intense. However, due to their extremely ingenious control of their profound arts, there was absolutely not the slightest bit of energy leaking out. Most importantly, both of their strengths were roughly on par, and they were evenly matched. Both of them were locked in a stalemate, and they were able to offset at least 90% of the force that the other party attacked, and the remaining portion would be dispersed by the profound chi protecting their bodies. In this way, it caused this fierce battle that could easily determine life and death to seem like a pantomime without any surprises or dangers. All the unpredictable risks and killing intent of life and death were all in silence. You advance and I retreat, you hit and I block, punches and kicks, clothes fluttering in the wind. Every movement was extremely fast, but not even a trace of dust on the ground was stirred up. The two of them exchanged a few moves in one place, and then moved like lightning to another position. And where they were originally at, it was as if the entire space had collapsed, and a huge black hole appeared in the air. Then, it immediately disappeared, and in the process of appearing and disappearing, there were already a few or even a dozen of such black holes appearing one after another. The people in the hall did not even dare to breathe loudly as they watched this battle. This kind of battle had already exceeded the understanding of most of the people present. But everyone knew one thing, and that was that even the two of them who were currently fighting would definitely not be able to withstand this degree of attack. That was why they were constantly changing their original positions without any prior agreement. Because once they were trapped by this spatial black hole, even if they had the cultivation of the Holy Emperor, they would perish forever as the spatial black hole disappeared, because both of them understood that the other party was risking his life. Huyen Aobo looked carefully, then suddenly frowned and said, "This shouldn't be." At the same time, Miao Zhan, Miao Dao, and the others also shook their heads slowly. How could this happen? It was truly perplexing. The few of them could tell that the cultivation of that holy emperor from the evil monarch manor was undoubtedly very high, but his actual age was not that old. He was most likely not even at the age of knowing his destiny. The power he possessed was obviously obtained by using some special method to hasten the growth of his power. Such a technique could definitely be called a peerless technique, and it was something that any superpower would dream of obtaining. But this kind of strength that was obtained through the use of external force had a common flaw. No matter how profound and pure the technique was, there would not be much actual combat experience, and the techniques that they knew would not be many. Cultivation could be obtained quickly, but the martial techniques and experience needed time to be accumulated. Those who used external force to increase their strength would mostly rely on their strength to win against their enemies, or in times of danger, they would use their profound cultivation to forcefully escape. So even if these experts who used external force to increase their strength had extremely high cultivation, in terms of actual combat, they might not be able to win against experts who were slightly weaker than them. To put it in a more picturesque way, although Zhang Denyo had the cultivation of a third-level middle-stage Holy Emperor, but in theory he might not be able to win against a third-level early-stage Holy Emperor. For example, although Qiao Ying's cultivation was high, but a large portion of it was due to the exquisite lotus and the seven-colored holy fruit. If not for her all-seeing eye, her true battle strength would definitely be far inferior to experts of the same level. And Duan Chongfeng, who was representing the Holy Lands, was a true 1,000-year-old monster, and his actual combat experience could be said to be extremely rich. In his lifetime, he had battled with various experts, so it was reasonable that he should have the upper hand in terms of techniques, martial techniques, and experience. But from the looks of it, the result was completely different, and it was even completely reversed, because the one who was using countless strange techniques to attack was that Zhang Denyo, while Duan Chongfeng, this senior who had experienced countless battles, was using his profound skills to forcefully break through the attacks to protect himself. This is too strange, right? Every single move that Zhang Denyo executed was extremely exquisite, and every single move was something that no one had seen before. Usually, for every single move, Duan Chongfeng had to continuously change several movement techniques, and change 5 to 6 different techniques, before he could barely withstand it. The battle had only lasted for half a cup of tea's time, and Duan Chongfeng's forehead was already dripping with sweat. This was a true Holy Emperor-level expert. With their powerful physical strength and endurance, even if they fought for a few days and nights, they might not even sweat a single drop. In contrast, that Zhang Denyo's breathing was steady and long. Suddenly, there was a long howl, and Zhang Denyo was heard laughing loudly. I said that you are not this captain's match, and you still insist on forcing yourself. The time has come, take my 4 seasons reincarnation palm. Suddenly, a palm slashed horizontally. Duan Chongfeng's pupils constricted. The wind is blowing in front of me. A palm slashed diagonally through the air. Duan Chongfeng's eyes darkened. The sky was filled with dark clouds. This was actually just Duan Chongfeng's personal feeling. But although the spectators could not feel Duan Chongfeng's feelings, they similarly experienced the absolute aura of the 2 palms that looked down upon the mountains and rivers, commanding the winds and clouds. Another palm, spring wind turned into rain, the sun shone brightly, the birds sang and the flowers fragrant, the rivers thawed. Next palm, summer thunder, a violent storm, the blue dome of heaven raging, the mountains and rivers about to be destroyed. Another palm, the autumn wind rustled, frost covered the horizon, fallen leaves fluttered, life past its prime. The last palm, the winter chill stopped, white snow fluttered, the world was boundless, it was already the end of life. From the first palm, Duan Chongfeng's consciousness shook. The second palm, his mind was in a trance. The third palm, he was already struggling with all his might. The fourth palm, his consciousness was already a little chaotic. The fifth palm, he was already drifting along with the flow. The sixth palm, he was completely engrossed. There was no way back. Peng peng, as if he was defeated. In an instant, Duan Chongfeng's body, chest and back were like firecrackers. In the blink of an eye, a full 365 palms, none of them missed, all landing on his body. The moment blood spurted out from his mouth, his entire 5 sense organs and 7 orifices also spurted out at the same time. Duan Chongfeng did not even have the time to make a sound. He had already spun in midair and landed, his body drawing a beautiful arc in midair. On the ground, a semicircle, full of fresh blood dripped down. When he landed on the ground, there was no longer any sound. With Duan Chongfeng's close to 1,000 years of cultivation, he should not be so weak, but the moment the other party Jun Moxie showed disdain and waved his hand to beckon, he was already dissatisfied. Solitary Eagle pretended to ponder, casually arranging the time, but he was already enraged in his heart. When this team leader first came out, the words he said made him even more furious, and his calm state of mind was completely destroyed. As such, his mind was in a mess, and he still had to rush for success, wanting to kill the other party as soon as possible, but he was faced with a martial art that he had never seen before. Gradually, he was suppressed, and his confidence was completely gone. His hope of victory was lost, but he still remembered that he had a heavy responsibility and could not fail, so the pressure in his heart was naturally greater. In front of the heroes of the world, the sense of humiliation was even greater. All sorts of negative factors added together and caused his defeat. There was no room for negotiation. Actually, with his true cultivation, at the very least, he would be able to fight with team leader Zhang to a draw, or he himself would die, but he would definitely be able to cause irreparable damage to the other party. But unfortunately, the moment Mo Wudao fell into the trap, it was equivalent to him falling into it as well. The outcome of the battle was already decided, and he was destined to have no chance to turn things around. An expert of a generation of Holy Emperor was defeated just like that. Although it was not fatal, but the other party did not show much mercy, and almost all the bones in his body were broken. 3 Holy Lands, Hermitage, the first round, completely defeated. Looking at the bright circle of blood on the field, everyone was speechless. Those who had the qualifications to receive an invitation from the evil Monarch Manor were not fools. Although they were limited by their own strength and did not understand the depth of the strength of the experts of the Holy Emperor, but they at least had the ability to discern. That battle just now seemed easy, and there wasn't even the slightest sound of wind during the entire process. But those black holes that appeared in the air from time to time were all seen by everyone. A third-grade Saint Emperor of his generation was defeated without a sound just like that. I've lost. It's really like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Duan Chongfeng's entire body was already turned into minced meat, but he still stubbornly raised his head and looked at Zhang Denyo, saying in a hoarse voice. The injuries on his body were extremely severe, and it could be said that even if he were to be hacked into pieces, it might not be able to compare to the degree of pain he was suffering right now. However, he didn't make a single groan. Instead, he raised his head and openly admitted defeat. Good man. Zhang Denyo no longer looked down on him, praising him solemnly. Born in the army, even if he was already an expert of the Holy Emperor, the hot blood of a man in the army had never cooled down. Naturally, he had to show the most serious attitude towards such a tough and unyielding man. Then he scratched his head and stammered. I'm sorry, I was a little too heavy-handed. Also, the words I said earlier were all intentionally, to anger you all. Please don't take it to heart. Duan Chongfeng's gaze was cold and sharp, but he nodded slowly and said in a low voice. Everyone has their own master, this should be the way. I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. After saying this, Duan Chongfeng's head suddenly drooped down, and he fainted. Mo Wudao and the other 2 didn't say anything. They just looked at the scene in front of them silently. Brother Mo, Shiruochen said in a low voice. This time we're too rash. Recommend a song. Today, I listened to an old song recommended by Wu Shan-yun. If the next life is a repeat of this life, I unknowingly listened to this song, and actually listened to it over and over for a few hours. If the next life is a repeat of this life, would you still not care? I like these 2 lines the most. Chapter 1079. Yes. Mo Wudao let out a deep breath. His expression was a little downcast as he said, I was indeed a little too eager for revenge. It's indeed a little rash for things to end up like this. It goes against my original intentions. Huyan Aobo nodded slowly. But it's not like we didn't gain anything. We've more or less grasped the strength of the evil Monarch Manor. Jun Moxie's strength has already been revealed. I believe that's all there is to it. Although it's already a very powerful force. The most important thing is that the thing we're most worried about did not happen. Huyan Aobo said. The Tian Fa forest did not merge with the evil Monarch Manor. There's only one Venerable Mei who came here today. And Venerable Mei appeared as Jun Moxie's woman. The other beast kings have not been seen. This is a good sign. Brother Huyan, you mean? Mo Wudao's eyes lit up. But Brother Huyan, don't forget that before we arrived, there were thousands of flying profound beasts that soared into the sky, and that shocking sharp sword. Shiruochen said darkly. It's a little too presumptuous to conclude that the 2 forces did not ally with each other. No, it's precisely because of this that I think they did not merge. Huyan Aobo said. Don't forget Mei Shuiyan's identity. If Tian Fa really merged with them, then it wouldn't just be those flying Shen beasts. Don't forget, the original 8 beast venerables have also reappeared in Tian Fa. How could the transfer of power be so easy? Exactly. Mo Wudao's eyes lit up even more. As long as we can confirm that Jun Mo Xie has not merged with Tian Fa, and is only living as neighbors, then we will have more choices. As long as we can deal with the imminent war for seizing the heavens, we will naturally have a lot of time and tricks that can be used. Let's leave everything after the war for seizing the heavens. People in the secular world often say that 10 years is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge. However, for us, even a little more time is nothing. Why do we have to fight for the right amount of time? Shiruochan said calmly, heavenly punishment cannot be bullied, and the evil prince cannot be insulted. Both of them have their own personalities. The three of them smiled at the same time. They had made up their minds. After the battle, one side was completely defeated, and the one who was defeated was a member of the Holy Land. But other than carrying the person back for treatment, the Holy Land actually didn't do anything else. Not only were the guests in the hall puzzled, but even Jun Dashao was puzzled. Why aren't there any follow-up actions? For the first time, this situation was outside of Dashao's expectations. Could it be another conspiracy? But, even if there was, it didn't matter. Everything would remain unchanged to deal with the ever-changing Manor Lord Jun. The strength of the evil Monarch Manor is indeed at the peak of the world, and I believe no one will doubt it anymore. At this point, there is no doubt that the evil Monarch Manor will be one of the top powers in the Xian continent. After the ceremony, we hope to have a chat with Manor Lord Jun. Mo Wudao smiled and said warmly. He had actually returned to his most peaceful and calm state. There is no problem. Jun Moxie agreed immediately. Today's meeting is just a ceremony, but we have to trouble everyone to come all the way here. The entire evil Monarch Manor feels uneasy, so after the ceremony, we have arranged for 7 days of revelry. Everyone can enjoy to their heart's content. All the expenses will be covered by the evil Monarch Manor. Amidst the cheers of everyone in the hall, Jun Moxie suddenly heard a faint voice. Manor Lord Jun, I am Zhan Wu Feng from the Zhan family of the Misty Mansion. I wonder if I can have a private chat with Manor Lord Jun after the ceremony? To discuss the possibility of cooperation between the evil Monarch Manor and my Zhan family. Zhan Wu Feng. What does the Zhan family want to discuss with me? Cooperation possibility? Was there such a possibility? This time, Jun Moxie was truly stunned. There was not the slightest bit of pretense. It was truly too unexpected. Alright. Jun Moxie nodded his head in agreement. Following that, sumptuous dishes and wine were served one after another. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. Looks like there wouldn't be any more unexpected changes today. But the actions of the three Holy Lands were too strange. They seemed to have come with a ferocious aura, but after injuring one person, they immediately retreated. This kind of reaction was somewhat unacceptable to the crowd. This was too cowardly, wasn't it? But this matter also proved another thing. The evil Monarch Manor was an extremely tyrannical place. Everyone's thoughts ran wild. But this was a matter between the superpowers, and it had nothing to do with small characters like them. Even if they wanted to suck up to the strong, the other party might not even be interested. Since there was no meaning to it, they might as well not think about it. Enjoying the delicacies in front of them was the right thing to do. Just as they were about to eat to their heart's content, a loud howl suddenly rang out from outside. This long howl was like the gates of hell suddenly opening, and millions of evil spirits rushed out at the same time. In that instant, the entire world seemed to be covered in gloomy clouds and fog, so eerie that it made it hard for one to breathe. Miao Zhan, Miao Dao, Miao Jian, and the other Saint Venerables from the Holy Lands all turned pale, because they could already tell who the newcomer was. The calamity that the appearance of this person could bring might not be inferior to the war for seizing the heavens. In fact, it might be even more terrifying. Following that, a sinister voice rang out. How can this venerable one not come to join in the fun on such a big day like the opening of the evil Monarch Manor? The 9th Nether 14th Master has come to congratulate us. Evil Monarch Jun Moxie, can you come out to meet us? 9 Serenities and 14 Masters. This malefic star, the publicly acknowledged #1 expert in the world, he actually came as well. 14th Young Master is considerate. Since you've come to our manor, why don't you come in for a drink? The fine wine that our manor has prepared may be worthy of 14th young master's wishes. Jun Moxie said in a low voice. Your wine is indeed excellent, but there's still an annoying person here. Since that's the case, it's fine if you don't drink. The nether 14th young master's voice was faintly discernible, drifting from north to south, then from west to east. It seemed to come from all directions and finally converged in the middle, forming a complete sentence. However, everyone could hear it clearly, and even the sinister tone could be clearly felt. Since 14th young master is not willing to show yourself, this venerable one shall toast you with a jar of wine to show my sincerity. Inside the hall, on the main stage in the center, a jar of wine suddenly cracked with a bang, and a drop of wine spilled out. Before it could fall to the ground, it had already transformed into the shape of a long sword, solidifying in midair. Then, it suddenly flew out of the hall like a meteor. In an instant, the wine sword disappeared without a trace. It was only at this moment that a whoosh sound could be heard. What kind of Xian technique was this? What kind of Xian technique was this? Everyone present was aghast. Miao Zhan's eyes shone with a strange light, looking at the direction where the wine flew, as if deep in thought. After a while, 9 serenities and 14 masters' praise came from outside. This is indeed the legendary heavenly wine. It's even better than hearing about it in person. Then he said, June brat, are you still not coming out? Jun Moxie laughed bitterly and said, could it be that 14th young master's previous congratulations were just empty words? Bring a congratulatory gift first, this venerable one will go out for a while. Everyone was speechless. A fierce person like 9 serenities and 14 masters personally came to congratulate him, and did not cause a scene. Wasn't this already the best congratulatory gift? How many people in this world could have this kind of face? Yet, he was still not satisfied, and actually publicly asked for a congratulatory gift. Congratulatory gift? 9 serenities and 14 masters outside sounded a little embarrassed. It seemed like this guy really did not prepare a congratulatory gift. Congratulatory gift. Jun Moxie's voice was very firm, as if he would not go out if he did not bring a congratulatory gift. 9 serenities frost blade, as a congratulatory gift. A boom was heard from outside, and then a black light flew in with a thunderous sound. Black gas surrounded it, like a soaring dragon from the 9 serenities. With a whoosh, a thick black light flew in with a rumbling sound. When it came close, the black light suddenly dissipated and turned into a long and thin chopstick-like blade. It flew in and inserted itself neatly into the high platform. Everyone simply couldn't believe that the earth-shattering sound from before was actually caused by such a long and narrow sword. How stingy, and you're the great 9 serenities and 14 masters, and you're only bringing such a small thing. How embarrassing. Everyone could only hear Jun Moxie's disdainful voice. Following that, they saw a tall and slender youth dressed in white suddenly appear on the stage. His light robes fluttered gently, and he looked as handsome as jade. In the next instant, this white-robed youth had already walked out of the hall with a faint smile. As he walked, he actually left behind thousands of afterimages, as if countless white-robed youths were lined up neatly, all the way to the door, and then into the air. When the figures in the air disappeared, the white-robed figure on the stage also began to dissipate. Evil Monarch. Jun Moxie. Looking at those figures gradually dissipating, but still maintaining their order, Miao Zhan let out a deep sigh. His eyes were solemn. Just from this side, he could already feel that this evil monarch's cultivation was definitely above his own. Then, could this person really be Mo Junyi? Thinking of Mo Junye's performance in Misty Mansion, Miao Zhan, Miao Dao, and Miao Jian were all confused. Was it really possible? Why didn't there seem to be any similarities at all? The 3 of them deeply furrowed their brows, no longer as confident as before. Although Jun Moxie was no longer in the hall, praises could be heard all around. As expected of the legendary evil monarch, he's extremely graceful and amiable, showing off the elegance of an overlord of a generation. Although that faint smile of Jun Moxie left very quickly, everyone clearly felt that that smile was for them, as if he was greeting them. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Did you take that thing out? 9 serenities and 14 masters stood in the air, looking at June Moxie with a dark gaze. If I say that I didn't take it out, are you going to make a move? June Moxie tilted his head. Before I fight with your master, I will not take the initiative to make a move against you. 9 serenities and 14 masters looked at him with disdain. Your improvement is indeed fast, but the current you is still far from being qualified to fight with me. Huh? You actually want to fight with my master? I'm afraid that my master will beat you to death. June Moxie rolled his eyes and took out the divine tune from his bosom, throwing it over casually. Shaking his head, he said, I've also studied this thing for a few days, but I still can't figure out how to use it. Can this thing really be used as a weapon? Today, I went out for a whole day to borrow money. I booked a house, and it will only be handed over in August of 2012, so I only paid a small deposit. I didn't expect to receive a notice that I need to pay now. I was completely caught off guard. Where do I have that much money? As for me, no one gave me any proof of income, so I couldn't get a mortgage. I could only pay in full, otherwise, I would be disqualified. Today, I went out for a whole day and borrowed from over 30 families. I don't even need to mention this feeling. After returning, I cursed the heavens for half an hour. Many people have borrowed money from me before, and they haven't returned it even after a few years. But when I found them, all of them were driving cars worth hundreds of thousands, crying to me that they were poor and had no money. Not only did they not borrow money, they didn't even return it. Chapter 1080. The 9 Nether 14th young master stretched out his hand and caught the divine tune that he hadn't seen for a long time. Twirling it around in his hands, he said lightly, You don't have 9 Nether's chi, so naturally you won't be able to play with it. With a flip of his wrist, the divine tune disappeared. However, this sentence also indicated that the godly tune could only be used with the netherworld true energy in order to display its true power. In the hands of others, it would only be a decoration. Sure enough, in the hands of 9 serenities and 14 masters, the divine tune suddenly changed inexplicably. Sometimes it was a long sword, sometimes it was a serrated knife, and then in the blink of an eye, it turned into a jade flute. In the blink of an eye, it changed into more than 20 shapes. The divine tune of the netherworld is finally going to be played again. It is the bloody music that it deserves. It will surely resound throughout the world again. 9 serenities and 14 masters looked up at the sky with a nostalgic look in her eyes. She glanced at June Moxie and smiled. Suddenly, her body slowly disappeared. He didn't even say a word before leaving. Fuck. Just because you value this broken thing, I spent so much effort and went through so much trouble to get this broken thing out. Don't say that you're deeply grateful and want to repay me with your body, but you didn't even say thank you? What kind of person is this? What kind of person is this? Don't you understand the ways of the world? June Moxie was dumbfounded. He never thought that this guy would be so heartless. Not only did he not return the favor, but he also ran away without saying a word. It seems like he left behind a netherworld frost blade? Fuck, I have millions of that thing in my space. What kind of rare thing is that? Trash, it's just a piece of trash. This was the first time June Dashao had made a loss in this world. Although it did not take much effort to retrieve the divine tune, it would have been almost impossible for anyone else. The more he thought about it, the more depressed he became. He suddenly stomped his feet and roared, 9 serenities and 14 masters. You stingy bastard, fuck you. Why don't you fart? You bastard, don't let me see you again. If I ever see you again, I'll make sure that you're not paying for my service. June Dashao was really going crazy this time. He simply hated the heavens for not having eyes, hated the earth for not having a handle. If the 9 serenities and 14 masters were still here, June Dashao would definitely rush forward and start a fight. Even if he had to extract 10,000% of the Hongjun Pagoda's power, he would still beat this guy until he pissed his pants in terror. If he didn't get his revenge, he wouldn't let the matter rest. However, the mountain was empty. There was no sign of the 9 serenities and 14 masters, As soon as he got his hands on the item, he instantly fled far away. Who knew how far he had already gone? However, Jun Moxie's furious roar was clearly heard by everyone in the hall. Everyone could not help but click their tongues. Even Miao Zhan, Miao Dao, Miao Jian, and the others were no exception. This kid was simply too ferocious. In this world, who would dare to scold the 9 serenities and 14 masters like that? What kind of words were those? As long as one had some ability and was qualified to know about the 9 Nether 14th young master, not to mention scolding the 9 Nether 14th young master on the spot, just hearing this name, or even thinking about it, was enough to send chills down one's spine. And the current situation was that the 9 serenities and 14 masters had come to congratulate the evil monarch, and had even gifted him a peerless divine weapon worth millions of gold, the 9 Nether Frost Blade. This thing was a truly rare item. Its greatest characteristic was that it could ignore any peerless divine weapon that could protect one's body. Furthermore, it was naturally imbued with the Yin Qi of the 9 Nethers. Once injured by the 9 Nether Frost Blade, anyone below the Venerable Realm would definitely not be able to use Xian Qi to force it out. There would be no hope of recovery for the rest of their lives. That small 9 Nether Frost Blade could be said to be a priceless treasure, a divine weapon. But from the looks of it now, the evil monarch was clearly very dissatisfied with this treasure, and had even scolded it in front of the other party. And it was not just an ordinary kind of scolding, it was extremely unpleasant to the ears. The filthy words and vulgarities flowed endlessly. Not only the 9 serenities and 14 masters themselves, even their 8 generations of ancestors had suffered along with him, and the most unbelievable thing was that the legendary number 1 lunatic under the heavens, number 1 vicious man under the heavens, the 9 serenities and 14 masters, did not even retort. It was as if he had just left with his tail between his legs. The fuck? What was going on? Could it be that this evil monarch was actually this ferocious? This was no longer a legend, a miracle, a myth. This was the truth, a god. Hearing the string of curses coming from outside without any repetition, the tens of thousands of people in the hall did not feel that this youth was vulgar. Their faces were all filled with respect, and caution. Anyone with this level of strength, no matter how vulgar and unbearably vulgar he was, no one would feel anything. Just like the saying, the bigger the fist, the bigger the reason. Even Mo Wudao and the rest subconsciously lowered their heads. That 9 serenities and 14 masters was an ultimate character that even the 3 holy lands could not do anything to. They were really curious. How was he able to endure Jun Moxie's torrent of curses? Jun Moxie cursed for a while, and finally felt that it was boring. Only then did he walk in angrily. His white robes fluttered in the wind, and his eyes were cold. His jade-like face was filled with killing intent, and his cheeks were frosty. He immediately discovered the consequences of this shrew's scolding. It actually caused everyone to stand up in unison and look at him as he walked in. Every time he walked in front of someone, that person would immediately give him a fawning smile, and then lower their head in fear, as if looking at him would also be blaspheming him. Even Miao Zhan and the rest of the people in the Misty Mansion, who originally looked at him with the gaze of an elder looking at a junior, were now filled with a strong sense of doubt and uncertainty. The gaze that Mo Wudao looked at him was actually filled with fear, even fear and lingering fear. Jun Moxie was a little confused, but he immediately understood. This was the side effect of him cursing at the 9 serenities and 14 masters. Fuck, I really did not think that this kind of annoying and depressing thing would actually have such a positive effect. Suddenly, Jun Moxie thought of a saying. The fastest way to become famous is to defeat an already illustrious person in front of a large crowd. That was definitely a big thing that would definitely shake the world overnight. Now, it seemed that it would not take such a long time as overnight. It was simply done in a breath, and the effect was so perfect. But now that he had appeared, he still had to say a few words. Jun Moxie went from gloomy and angry, to astonishment, to doubt, then to realization, and finally to gloating, preparing to make use of this cursing at the 9 serenities and 14 masters incident to increase the influence of the evil monarch manner. In just an instant, he had completed the transformation from his mentality to his character. And he already had a very perfect plan. With his plan set, Jun Moxie once again stood on the high platform in the center. He coughed lightly a few times and said, "Everyone, please take a seat." This sect only had a small argument with the 9 Nether 14th brother just now. It's really not a big deal. He's already gone far away now. This seat lost his composure just now and really affected everyone's mood. I'm really sorry. Here, this sect apologizes on behalf of everyone. Jun Moxie's face was calm and collected, as if he was very humble. It was obvious that he did not want to talk about the matter just now. That attitude of his made everyone understand with one look. I'm not willing to borrow the name of the 9 Serenities and 14 Masters, he's not worthy, but in reality, this fellow had already borrowed the name of the other party to the point where he could not borrow it anymore. Hearing his words, everyone hurriedly said that they did not dare and sat down. Some people even felt their spines drenched in sweat. Who would dare to accept an apology from someone who dared to curse at the 9 Serenities and 14 Masters? It was only because there were many people here that they could be emboldened. If they were alone, wouldn't they be scared to death after hearing this? They'd probably be scared to death too. Coughing lightly again, Jun Dushao's smile could be said to be very amiable, but there was a hint of pride and arrogance in his bones. But in the eyes of everyone, this attitude was completely natural. It would be abnormal if such a big shot did not have the appropriate demeanor and temperament. No matter how arrogant he was, it was all natural. You're not convinced? If you have the capabilities, go and point at the 9 Serenities and 14 Masters' nose and curse at him. Then you can be unconvinced. But if you really do that, the bones of your ancestors will probably be dug out from the ground, because you're not Jun Moxie, you don't have that kind of strength. Jun Dushao finally started to speak again. His calm tone was filled with arrogance and bossiness. The two completely opposite feelings were filled with harmony at this moment. Thank you, everyone. The evil Monarch Manor is located in the Tiannan, the terrain is remote, and the mountains are barren. For all of you to travel such a long distance to come here, you've really given this Jun a lot of face here. I would like to express my welcome and gratitude to all of you. He cupped his hands in greeting. Apart from the 3 Holy Lands and the Misty Mansion, everyone stood up solemnly and returned the greeting. Their uniformity was comparable to the guards of honor of the 3 armies. Since the evil Monarch Manor has chosen this time to establish their sect and face the world, naturally they must have a mission. There must also be some rules. Jun Moxie's originally calm voice slowly turned heavy. It was filled with an irresistible pressure, as if a sky full of dark clouds had suddenly pressed down on everyone's hearts. The mission of the evil Monarch Manor is for the world, for the continent, for the people, for the peace of mankind. Upstairs, Mei Xuan, Guan Qinghan, and the rest all fell back onto their chairs. What's going on? This is too ridiculous. Jun Moxie's face did not turn red, nor was he out of breath as he continued. Here, I officially announce to the world. From the day the evil Monarch Manor is established, there shall be no more raping of women in the pugilistic world. If discovered, they shall be killed without mercy. I, Jun Moxie, have always been righteous and full of righteousness. What I hate the most in my life are those who bully men and tyrannize women. This is the basic principle of being a human, and there is no room for discussion. Jun Wui, who was originally supporting his nephew, finally couldn't help but turn his face to the side and use his sleeves to cover his face. He coughed lightly a few times. Third Master Jun looked like he was about to suffer internal injuries. Chapter 1081. Solitary Eagle raised his head and looked at the ceiling, not moving at all, like a statue. No one would notice that Boss Eagle, who was looking at the sky with his hands behind his back, was actually rolling his eyes with all his might. Those familiar with Jun Moxie, like Li Yuran, Tang Yuan, Mo Wudao, and the rest, all had their faces twitching intensely. Fatty Tang was the most exaggerated. When he heard Jun Moxie say this, he almost couldn't catch his breath and started coughing violently as if he was suffering from asthma, coughing until all the fat on his body was like the surface of the sea that had encountered a hurricane. This was truly the greatest joke in the world. In terms of bullying men and tyrannical women, there was probably no one in the entire Tianxiang city who did it more than Jun Dashao, right? Only the heavens knew why this fellow didn't even blush when he said this. From the looks of it, Jun Moxie really didn't need to blush. Why should this evil monarch blush? When did this seat bully men and tyrannical women? The only time this seat lost his virginity was because he was drugged, or... Although this saying was a little too much, but it was very close to the truth. As for what happened before, what has it got to do with me? Not allowed to bully men and tyrannical women is the first rule that my evil monarch manor has set for the pugilistic world. Jun Moxie said slowly. Secondly, not allowed to bully the good people. Jun Moxie rolled his eyes. The lives of the common people are already hard enough. We have learned martial arts, and we are chivalrous people. We serve the country and the people. We are chivalrous people. We are worse than pigs and dogs if we continue to bully them. So, those who dare to violate this rule will be killed without mercy. The third rule is not allowed. The above are the 9 killing orders of the evil monarch manor. Anyone who violates these 9 rules, no matter where they go, the evil monarch manor will definitely kill them. No matter how strong the power behind them is, they will not be able to protect you. So everyone must take note. I do not wish for the hands of the evil monarch manor to be stained with the blood of you, your relatives, your friends, and your fellow sect members. Jun Moxie listed out 9 things that were not allowed to be done. 9 shurkill. In addition, I want to solemnly talk about the matter of the evil monarch token here. Jun Moxie clasped his hands behind his back. Suddenly, a large cloud of smoke appeared in the air. It floated in the air, and after a while, it formed a strange pattern. In the middle, there was the word order. There was only one word on it, evil. Around him, however, was the embrace of the sun and the moon. The sabers and swords looked ferocious. The overall shape of the sabers and swords could only be described with one word, kill. This is the keepsake of this mansion, the evil monarch token. If someone with the token finds you, please, give me some face. Jun Moxie clasped his hands behind his back. His eyes flashed like lightning as he scanned the faces of everyone present. As long as someone gives me face, I will naturally give him face as well. Jun Moxie said lightly. If someone doesn't give me face, I don't have any other bad habits, except that my temper is a little bad, and I have a bad habit of seeking revenge for the smallest grievance. Who doesn't have some bad habits in life? Jun Moxie shook his head and sighed in a melancholic manner, as if he was very dissatisfied with his own temper. Threat. This was definitely a threat. An open and honest threat. This was undoubtedly saying that all the heroes of the world must listen to the orders of the evil monarch manor. Those who didn't would be executed. Everyone, do you have any questions or opinions? Jun Moxie smiled lightly, his expression carefree and gentle as he asked sincerely. Everyone present looked at each other in dismay. There were even many people who looked at Mo Wudao, Shi Ruochen, and the other 2 sect lords. This evil monarch manor is acting so tyrannically, and the 3 holy lands are not going to say anything? Where's your pride and arrogance from the past? Unexpectedly, Mo Wudao and the rest did not say a single word, still sitting calmly on their chairs, as if they had not heard Jun Moxie's words at all. Shi Ruochen and Huyen Aobo were also frowning in deep thought. Only Mo Wudao's brows twitched slightly, and he glanced at someone secretly, as if he was sending some sort of message. Does anyone have any questions or opinions? Then I'll take it that everyone has silently agreed. Looks like everyone's sense of justice is still very strong. Jun Moxie laughed heartily and said, Then this matter is decided. Wait. A burly man with a full beard stood up. This person belonged to the Fong family of Hermitage, and he was someone who was used to being unreasonable in the continent. At this moment, he finally couldn't help but jump out. His courage came from that look in Mo Wudao's eyes. That look clearly expressed Mo Wudao's intentions. I have the 3 holy lands behind me. Although Sect Lord Mo did not say anything, but since he had given me instructions, I naturally have to use this opportunity to show my loyalty. At this moment, when no one else had the guts to stand up, it was a great opportunity for me to take all the credit. In any case, in front of so many people, and even in front of the 3 sect lords of the 3 holy lands, he was also a guest who had come to congratulate them. No matter how arrogant, evil, or unreasonable this Jun Moxie was, he wouldn't go so far as to kill him on the spot, right? With this thought in mind, he stood up with a whoosh. He actually had the posture of being unyielding and filled with righteous indignation. You have an opinion? Jun Moxie looked at him and smiled warmly. Yes. The burly man puffed out his chest. Your words are inappropriate, there is no you. You can't represent anyone, you can only represent yourself. Jun Moxie said amicably. I seem to have mentioned earlier that I am a slightly narrow-minded person, and I hate to hear different opinions. So you don't have to say any specific opinions, it's meaningless and a waste of time. The burly man was about to speak when he suddenly felt a strange chill. He couldn't help but turn pale with fright as he cried out, You can die. Jun Moxie made a grabbing motion in the air. The two of them were separated by a full 30 zhang, but Jun Moxie's palms suddenly clenched together, forming a fist in front of his chest. That burly man didn't even have time to say a single word before his head suddenly exploded. Shattered. His head was crushed by Jun Moxie in the air. Fresh blood splattered everywhere. That crisp sound of bones shattering seemed to resound in everyone's hearts. Who else has a different opinion? Or, does anyone disagree with the evil Monarch Manor's actions? You can speak out boldly, Jun Moxie said sincerely. Other than that small flaw of mine, I am a very democratic person. I am the best at accepting different opinions. If anyone has any questions, don't keep it in your hearts. If there's anything, you should bring it out to discuss, right? If I'm wrong, I naturally won't stubbornly persist. I will definitely follow the flow of good advice. When the crowd heard his words and saw the gentle expression on his face, then looked at the headless corpse that was slowly slipping to the ground, all of them felt a chill in their hearts. Who would dare to believe your nonsense? It's already like this, and you still have the cheek to call yourself democratic? Is this what you mean by follow the flow of good advice? He didn't even have the time to speak and you killed him, what's going on? Jun Moxie suddenly frowned and pointed at the corpse, asking in confusion. Why did this hero suddenly commit suicide? Could it be that he thinks our hospitality is not good enough? Everyone felt a chill down their spines. He suddenly committed suicide. You're the one who suddenly committed suicide. Your whole family suddenly committed suicide. Of course, this was only lingering in everyone's hearts. No one dared to say it out loud. Zhang Daniel, how did you become the leader of the courtyard guards? Didn't you see that all the guests committed suicide? Why are you still standing there in a daze? Jun Moxie ordered coldly. Quickly investigate the reason. Zhang Daniel replied with a bitter expression and hurriedly ran over. After checking for a while, he said, reporting to Manor Master, after this friend heard about your grand plan, he was overjoyed. He was so excited that all the blood in his body rushed to the top of his head. Extreme joy turned to sorrow and his head actually exploded. I see. He's a sentimental person? Jun Moxie sighed. Give him a lavish burial. Yes. Zhang Daniel waved his hand and called a few people to carry the corpse out. Then, the servants quickly came up and cleaned up the place. A sentimental person, everyone in the hall did not know whether to laugh or cry at this conclusion. Overjoyed and agitated, blood rushed to the top of his head, causing his head to explode. There's actually such a saying. This is a little too ridiculous, right? Can't they come up with a better reason? Naturally, justice is in the hearts of the people. Even in the evil Monarch Manor, if anyone commits crimes, I will also punish them severely. Jun Moxie said lightly. The evil Monarch token has a total of 4 sides. It will appear in the pugilistic world once every month. 8 people will be in charge of it. 2 people will be in charge of one side, and they will go to the north, south, east, and west. The person in charge of the token is not allowed to kill indiscriminately or act arbitrarily. The cause and effect of the killing must be investigated clearly, and a written report will be made. If there is any mistake, the person in charge will die. So, although it's the evil monarch token, it can bring peace to the world. June Moxie said heavily. The evil monarch manor's punishment hall will be heavily monitoring this matter. If anyone kills indiscriminately or wrongly, they can only repay with their lives. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. If that's the case, it'll be easier to accept. I was just afraid that you guys would kill indiscriminately. After everyone discussed for a while, and seeing that the 3 Holy Lands actually did not take any action, they could only nod their heads helplessly in agreement. Besides, this was just a nod. There was no written form, and there were no corresponding enforcement measures, so everyone did not have any concerns. In fact, most of them were thinking, even if we go back and refuse to acknowledge it, what can you do? The mountains are high and the emperor is far away. Even if your Misty Mansion is powerful, how can you care so much? Even if you can kill 1 or 2 people, can you kill all the Xian cultivators in the world? Even if I really give you a nominal status, you won't be able to bite my D***ck off. Since no one has any objections, then it's decided. June Moxie smiled comfortingly. Then, his eyes turned serious and he said slowly, everyone, please remember that I, June Moxie, am not joking. This is an advantage that I'm very proud of. He ended his speech with a light sentence. The banquet also began. As the cups swayed, the wine warmed their ears. Quite a number of people had also completely forgotten about this matter, now at my comrade's house in Jinan. After borrowing from Laiwu, I came to Jinan. My comrade did not say anything. After drinking in the morning, his eyes were blurry. He only asked me one question, how much do I need? I said I still need 200,000. In the afternoon, I slept at my comrade's house. He did not come back for the whole afternoon. When he came back at night, he threw 200,000 into my arms and said, hurry up and take it. Don't frown in front of me. Scram. I can't stand men frowning. I cried, because my comrade is not rich. None of this money belongs to him. Even if I die, I will remember this friendship. Even if I die, I will pay it back. After all, I still have someone who treats me sincerely. Someone who treats me wholeheartedly. I am satisfied. Because in this world, there is still one person. This kind of relationship is enough for one person in a lifetime. I don't want people to call him an idiot just because of me. I will take the earliest car back tomorrow morning. Tomorrow. I have let everyone down these few days. Sorry. Chapter 1082. Especially those subordinate families of the 3 Holy Lands. They were even thinking about how to cooperate with the 3 Holy Lands to completely destroy the evil Monarch Manor after the war for seizing the heavens, and plunder the wealth of the evil Monarch Manor. The wealth of this place was simply too alluring. As for the rules of the evil Monarch Manor, why would they care about it? Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that just because they didn't care about it this time, it would lead to such a serious consequence. Everyone, please enjoy. June Moxie said gently. This seat will take his leave. Wait, Manor Lord June. We've come here today because we really have something important to discuss. Shiroachin said. After today's meeting, everyone can stay for a few more days. No matter what it is, everyone can discuss it. Today is the opening day of the evil Monarch Manor. There's no need to talk about mundane matters. June Moxie looked at the tens of people from the 3 Holy Lands, as well as the people from the Misty Mansion, and smiled meaningfully. I believe that this seat will definitely not let everyone return empty-handed. This was a hint, but it also allowed these people who had their own ulterior motives to calm down. June Moxie clasped his hands apologetically, turned around, and left. His white robes fluttered, and in the blink of an eye, he disappeared. Countless servants rushed out from all directions. Fine wine and delicacies flowed out like flowing water. Solitary Eagle, Feng Wanyun, Jun Wui, and the rest led the people from the evil Monarch Manor to toast, and the atmosphere was unprecedentedly lively. It seemed like it was impossible for it to not be lively. Not to mention those pugilistic people who were already leaning towards the evil monarch manor, this trip could be said to be a great harvest. Not only did they establish a connection with the evil monarch manor, they even received a few extremely precious gifts. Not to mention anything else, just those heavenly grade wines that were used to entertain the guests, although it wasn't to the extent that they couldn't be found in the market, but the stock was still extremely rare. Being able to drink to their heart's content today was definitely worth it. Those who maintained a neutral stance, those who disdained June Moxie's tyrannical style, and those who leaned towards the side of the three holy lands, did not dare to show any dissatisfaction. Not to mention the evil monarch who would kill people without a word. Just the few people who were toasting in front of them were either the holy venerable or the holy emperor. What kind of people were these? They could take their lives with just a flick of their fingers. How much face were they giving you by toasting? If you don't hurry up and accept it, aren't you looking for trouble? When all the Jianghu people in the hall were toasting each other, the women upstairs were also having a lively conversation. After getting along for a while, everyone went from strangers to acquaintances, and now they were already familiar with each other. Elder Sister Mei, Elder Sister Guan, Younger Sister Xiao, why are all of your expressions so strange? What's wrong with all of you? Miao Xiao Miao looked at these sisters that she had just met with a little astonishment. Not only were these sisters beautiful, they also had good tempers. It was as if they had hit it off with her the moment they met, and it was as if they were on the same wavelength. For some reason, she felt that they were treating her with sincerity. This matter could be said to be rather illogical. She was a member of the Misty Mansion, and in name, she was closer to the side of the three holy lands. But they were treating her with such sincerity the moment they met. This was truly strange. Even if Dugu Xiaoyi was young and ignorant, it would still be fine. But Mei Shuiyan was the Tian Fa queen. What kind of character was she? It was impossible for her to be like this. Especially when there was someone from the three holy lands present, Xiao Ying. But she just had to acknowledge it. Otherwise, with the fact that they had just met, it was impossible for Miao Xiao Miao to ask such a deep question. But at this moment, as if they had heard the words of the evil monarch downstairs, all of their expressions became strange. Miao Xiao Miao could not help but feel puzzled in her heart. Just what was going on? Although the words of the evil monarch sounded a little unpleasant and extremely arrogant, but to establish a sect, one needed to be domineering in the first place, and they had to flaunt themselves a little. His words were not wrong. Although it was a little overbearing, he had the ability to do so. In this world where the bigger fist was the most powerful, no matter what he did, it was only right. After all, if the evil monarch did not completely suppress the people who had objections at the first moment, this opening ceremony would most likely end in tragedy. This so-called killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Although this method of the evil monarch seemed to be cruel and even crazy, it was the best method at the moment. Miao Xiao Miao believed that even if no one had stood out just now, the evil monarch would have thought of a way to provoke one of them to kill and establish his prestige. This prestige must be established. But why were the expressions of Elder Sister Mei and the rest like this? Even if the others were offended because they were soft-hearted, but as the former Tian Fa queen, Mei Shuiyan should not have such a reaction, right? Younger sister has misunderstood. We are not killing for him to establish our prestige. Mei Shuiyan smiled helplessly. How would you know what kind of person Mo Xie is normally? And although you know a certain side of him, you don't know that this fellow is actually Mo Junya. This fellow is pretending to be a dragon, pretending to be a tiger. There's no way to explain it clearly. I really didn't expect that Big Brother Mo Xie would actually be able to say such words. It's truly unexpected. Dugu Xiaoyi had a strange expression on her face as she praised. However, his hooligan methods are really good. If I had known that there would be such a fun thing, I would have really gone to join in the fun. Miao Xiao Miao made a etch sound and was speechless. As expected, people who were not from the same family would not enter the same door. Just at this moment, Xiao Ying, who was facing the door, suddenly straightened her back and her eyes turned sharp. The originally calm and elegant expression on her face instantly changed. Meow Xiao Meow also sensed something and raised her head to look. Suddenly, a person appeared in the empty doorway. The appearance of this person caused even a girl like Meow Xiao Meow's eyes to light up involuntarily. The person who had come had black hair like the clouds, and a simple golden crown casually held his black hair in place. His brows were like swords, his eyes like stars, and his nose was sharp. His thin lips gave off a feeling of decisiveness, and the shape of his face was perfect. Tall and slender, with arms like an ape and a waist like a bee, he slowly walked in step by step. Moreover, every single move he made carried a natural and unrestrained aura that was pleasing to the eye. It was like a clear spring in a mountain stream or a cool breeze that passed through a forest, bringing along a sense of elegance. But as his eyes flashed, there seemed to be a kind of calmness and arrogance that came from his bones and soul. That flashing gaze seemed to have a kind of evil nature that looked down on the entire world. That was a kind of arrogant and unsheathed sword, and a kind of arrogance that pointed to the heavens. Almost at the first instant that she saw this person, Meow Xiao Meow naturally confirmed the identity of this person, Evil Monarch. June Moxie. In this world, apart from this young man, there was truly no one else who was worthy of the name Evil Monarch. Just by looking at him, this name that could shake the entire world floated up from the bottom of one's heart. The tyrannical aura of the name Evil Monarch was displayed to its fullest on this person. Although he had not spoken yet, and had not personally seen him make a move, that kind of transcendent aura that he exuded was already the best way to explain the origin of the name Evil Monarch. All the evils in the world worship me as their master. Truly worthy of the name. Truly worthy of the name. And in the instant that they met for the first time, Meow Xiao Meow's heart surged with an inexplicable anger. That was anger towards the three holy lands. This person in front of her was like a celestial being that had descended from the heavens, proud and aloof like the white clouds, free and unrestrained like the autumn wind. If he were to explode, he would definitely be like a bolt of lightning. How could such a person be the lustful, shameless, tyrannical, evil bastard that Mo Wudao had spoken of? Meow Xiao Meow firmly believed that the things that Mo Wudao had spoken of definitely had nothing to do with this person in front of her. With this person's temperament, how could he have done such despicable, shameless, and despicable things? Then everything was definitely a plot by the three holy lands to slander him. The three holy lands actually dared to slander the person in front of them like this? This was truly a great loss to the peak powers of the Xian continent and the majestic demeanor of the three holy lands, not mentioning anything else, just looking at the beauties in this room, which one of them was not peerless in their generation. Since June Moxie was able to obtain the favor of these beauties, why would he take the initiative to flirt with those ordinary women? According to what her mother had told her about the differences between women and women, all the women in this room, other than Guan Qinghan, were still virgins. What kind of self-control did he need to have when he had so many peerless beauties but did not wantonly engage in lewd acts? That Mo Wudao was really too hateful. Other than that, when Meow Xiao Meow saw June Moxie for the first time, for some reason, an indescribable feeling of familiarity and closeness welled up in her heart. This kind of feeling was so intense that even Meow Xiao Meow herself felt a little strange. In fact, her heart was flustered. But why would I have such a familiar feeling towards him? Why would such an impossible thing happen? The one I like is Jun Yi. Only Jun Yi. How could I change my mind at the sight of someone else? What am I thinking? This kind of thought shouldn't even have occurred to me. With this thought, Mo Junye's figure once again appeared in her mind, completely destroying the image of Jun Dashao. These two ladies are truly outstanding beauties. This one was almost stunned into a daze. June Moxie smiled lightly as he looked at Xiao Ying and Meow Xiao Meow. There was a hint of affection in his eyes as he looked at Meow Xiao Meow. Greetings, Manor Lord Jun. Meow Xiao Meow hurriedly stood up to greet him. There was still some restraint in her expression. Although this person in front of her was so young and handsome that it was unbelievable, he had a status that was on par with her grandfather, Miao Jingyun. But Meow Xiao Meow did not dare to show the slightest bit of disrespect. But she was also puzzled in her heart. Why is the way this person is looking at me so strange? June Moxie, how is my exquisite lotus now? Xiao Ying looked at him indifferently and asked bluntly. Exquisite lotus. Oh. June Moxie raised his brows and smiled. How shameful. Chapter 1083. Miss Chiao has misunderstood. There's no need to be so worried. The exquisite lotus is fine, it's just that it misses you. June Moxie's words caused Xiao Ying's face to flush red as she glared at him. What nonsense are you spouting? This fellow, he's saying that he misses me the moment we meet. Miss Chiao seems to have misunderstood again. What I meant was, the exquisite lotus misses you a lot. After all, you've been raising it for so long. June Moxie said innocently. Du. Xiao Ying's face paled in anger. Dugu Xiaoyi cackled. Big brother Emosia, you're acting like a hooligan again? June Moxie's face darkened as he glared at her. How am I acting like a hooligan? Little lass, don't spout nonsense and confuse me, or I'll give you a good spanking later. I'm just thinking about how the exquisite lotus has been away from Miss Chiao for quite some time now, so I'm sure it misses its previous owner. The exquisite lotus can't speak, so I'm just speaking out its thoughts on its behalf. How am I acting like a hooligan? Speaking out a plant's thoughts? How dare you come up with such a lame excuse? Xiao Ying's face reddened again as she said hatefully, the exquisite lotus misses me? You seem to understand the exquisite lotus quite well. Isn't that so? June Moxie sighed sincerely. That exquisite lotus of yours is really intelligent. Ever since it came to me, it's been telling the other plants how good you are. Now, many of the spirit herbs here have been moved by it, and they're all looking forward to your arrival, hoping that you can stay with them forever. That would be great. Xiao Ying was both amused and angry at the same time. This fellow really knew how to speak. Was he trying to fool a 3-year-old? You said that there are many spirit herbs? Where are they? It seemed like when Xiao Ying saw the Yin spirit ginseng, her heart was already itching. Now that she heard June Moxie's words, even though she did not believe Master De Xiao's nonsense, she could not help but feel a strong sense of curiosity. Such precious herbs are naturally placed in the safest and easiest place to take care of. It's in my bedroom. When are you going? June De Xiao said shyly. You lecture. Xiao Ying was furious. His elixirs were actually all in his bedroom. Thinking back to what he had said earlier, many elixirs are waiting for your arrival, hoping that you can be with them forever. Doesn't that mean that I'm going to live in his bedroom just like his medicinal herbs? This pervert. Today, the 2 ladies came here to congratulate me. I can't let the 2 of you go back empty-handed. It's just that I've just opened my mansion. It's not as big as the Misty Mansion or the Holy Land. I really don't have much to offer. I can only treat each of you to a piece of lotus root. I hope the 2 of you can forgive me? June Moxie said with a slight smile. Each of you to a piece of lotus root? Do you think that your lotus root is an elixir? We came from thousands of miles away just to eat a piece of lotus root? The 2 ladies were a little dissatisfied. You actually have the nerve to say that you are poor in front of us. Everyone in the hall has a portion of the austere heart orchid and the snow silk handkerchief. It seems that the Misty Mansion or the Holy Land may not be able to offer these 2 items. Also, the luminous pearl, the tea herb, and the Yin spirit ginseng. Which one of them is not a rare treasure in the world? Xiao Ying and Miao Xiao Miao had eaten the exquisite jade lotus before. They naturally knew that it was only the size of a peanut. Naturally, it wouldn't be cut into slices. So, what June Moxie took out was definitely an ordinary lotus root. Why would we care about your bullsh * tea lotus root? Could it be better than the exquisite jade lotus? Seeing that the 2 ladies were unhappy and were even glaring at him angrily, June Moxie didn't think much of it. He smiled faintly. With a flick of his wrist, a large piece of lotus root appeared in his hand. A lotus root that was as thick as a fist and a foot long. In terms of size, it really wasn't anything special. It might even be slightly smaller than the ordinary lotus root in the world. However, this lotus root was jade white in color. It was crystal clear, and could almost be seen from one side to the other. Also, the moment the crystal-clear lotus root appeared, the whole room was suddenly filled with an indescribable refreshing smell. It was simple yet elegant and pleasant. This room was originally filled with the distant fragrance of the immemorial tea herb, which did not dissipate for a long time. However, the instant the sparkling lotus root appeared, the distant tea fragrance instantly disappeared, leaving behind only the pleasant smell that came afterwards. This indescribable enchanting fragrance made people feel refreshed the moment they smelled it. It was as if even their souls were being cleansed at this moment. At this moment, Qiao Ying's beautiful eyes suddenly widened to their limits. Her small mouth also opened wide without any regard for her appearance, as if she had seen something inconceivable. Miao Xiao Miao was also startled. But she was still a little uncertain in her heart. It can't be, right? How could it grow so big? But Qiao Ying suddenly shouted, "Exquisite jade lotus! It's really the exquisite jade lotus?" June Moxie smiled and nodded. "It's really the exquisite jade lotus? How is that possible?" Qiao Ying's body swayed when she received the other party's confirmation. She almost fainted. She used all her strength to barely control herself. But she still couldn't help but take a big stride forward. "Let me see. How can it be like this? How can it be so big?" Miao Xiao Miao was also stunned. This is the exquisite jade lotus? This is too inconceivable, right? How can it be so big? Taking the biggie lotus root from June Dashao's hands, Qiao Ying's face was filled with a kind of fanaticism similar to pilgrimage. "This is the exquisite jade lotus born from the exquisite lotus. How can there be such a big one?" Turning it over and over, Qiao Ying carefully examined it as if she had found a treasure. Her white face became redder and redder, and her breathing quickened. When placed together with the pure white exquisite lotus, it actually complemented each other. Such a successful cultivation. "You? How did you do it?" Qiao Ying hugged the lotus root tightly in her arms and looked at June Moxie eagerly. June Moxie smiled faintly but did not reply. Qiao Ying instantly came to a realization. How he did it was his own business. Why should he tell you? The relationship between the evil Monarch Manor and the 3 Holy Lands was very delicate. How could he tell me? Thinking till here, she couldn't help but feel a sense of loss. "I've misspoken." Although she did not ask any more, the reluctance in her tone was even more obvious. "It's not that rare. I just obtained a heaven and earth spirit vein by chance." June Moxie smiled warmly and looked at her. "I opened a pool above the spirit vein, and used the spirit chi of the spirit vein to grow the exquisite lotus, and I obtained this exquisite jade lotus. It's just that simple." Qiao Ying instantly understood. "So that's how it is." Using a heaven and earth spirit vein to grow the exquisite lotus was naturally much more effective and faster than relying on the power of nature in the Heaven Saint Palace. In fact, this was also the only way to grow the exquisite lotus so quickly and obtain such a huge lotus root. At the same time, Qiao Ying felt a strange sense of joy in her heart. There was no need for him to say such a secret, but he told me. He told me that he's not from the same side. To possess the legendary heaven and earth spirit vein, something like this, even the people from the Heaven Saint Palace would definitely be jealous. Once the news was leaked, there would definitely be endless trouble, and they might even become the target of the entire pugilistic world. But June Moxie told her this news without any hesitation, just because she asked him, "How did you do it?" This was the greatest trust he had in her. Looking at June Moxie's warm eyes, Qiao Ying's heart skipped a beat, and she felt a strange sense of bliss. That was a deep sense of satisfaction that came from the bottom of her heart. "Don't worry, this secret will forever remain in my heart, and will never be revealed," Qiao Ying said in a low voice. Although her voice was soft, it was unusually resolute. And as if she was swearing an oath, even she herself did not realize how sincere she was when she said this. Chuckling lightly, June Moxie smiled lightly and took the exquisite jade lotus. Then he placed it flat on his left palm, and with his right palm like a knife, he sliced it a few times. The exquisite jade lotus in his hand was evenly divided into 9 pieces. Shui Yan, Send these 2 pieces to mother and grandfather. As for the rest, each of you can have 1 piece." With a wave of his right hand, Jun Moxie's pieces of exquisite jade lotus flew out from his hand, slowly floating in front of everyone, as if there was something supporting them in the air. Mei Xuan did not hesitate, and with a sound of agreement, she received the 2 pieces and quickly walked out. Once this kind of thing was cut open, it had to be consumed as soon as possible. Otherwise, it wouldn't take long before it completely melted into the air. And for Mei Xuan, with her speed, she had to use her full strength, and in the process, she had to use her Saint Venerable Xian Qi to wrap around the exquisite jade lotus to prevent it from evaporating. Filial piety was the foundation of human relationships. Jun Moxie's way of doing things made Xiao Ying and Miao Xiaomiao feel that this evil monarch had a strong sense of humanity. Xiao Ying excitedly picked up the piece in front of her and sucked in a deep breath of air in satisfaction. Just this piece alone was already more than 10 times the size of the exquisite jade lotus in the Heaven Saint Palace. The effects of this lotus would definitely be extraordinary. As for Miao Xiaomiao, she looked at the exquisite jade lotus floating in front of her with some bewilderment, her body trembling slightly. This was the first time they had met. How could she accept such a precious gift from the other party? This was a priceless treasure, not just in name but also in reality. This was something that was as famous as the 7-colored holy fruit. Just thinking about the arrogance of the holy tree in the Misty Mansion, one could imagine how precious this exquisite jade lotus was. Chapter 1084. Aya, little sister Xiao Miao, why are you being so polite? We're all sisters, you're giving this fellow face by eating it. Hurry up and eat it, hurry up and eat it. Dugu Xiao Yi hurriedly urged. This lass had already swallowed her piece in 1 gulp. It's not like it's something rare, it's just a small piece of lotus root. Why can't you take it? Jun Moxie looked at Miao Xiaomiao and said gently, everyone's already eaten it, you should eat it quickly. Otherwise, if too much time passes, this exquisite lotus will melt in the air. That would be a real waste of a treasure. Miao Xiaomiao's heart shook. When she looked at the exquisite lotus again, she saw that the outer edge of the lotus root had indeed started to show signs of melting. She couldn't help but feel conflicted in her heart. If I insist on not eating it with his status, he'll definitely not take back his words. If this thing melts just like that, not only would it be a pity, I'll still owe him this favor. Thinking up to here, she couldn't help but sigh. This person is really overbearing, even giving me a gift that I can't refuse. Helpless, she could only accept the piece of lotus root and gently put it into her mouth. Instantly, she felt a cold stream of air enter her throat, and in an instant her limbs and bones were filled with joy. Within her meridians, a copious amount of energy slowly flowed. Then, everyone felt that their meridians seemed to have unknowingly widened by a lot. Furthermore, the flexibility of their meridians seemed to have increased by a few times after the cold stream of air passed through them. Then, that powerful external energy entered their dantian and actually quietened down. But everyone understood that this energy wouldn't just disappear into thin air. Instead, it was silently protecting their bodies. Without the stimulation of the 7-colored holy fruit, this medicinal energy would continue to nourish their bodies. But with the stimulation of the 7-colored holy fruit, this energy would instantly turn into 1,000 years of pure energy. It was enough to allow their cultivation to take a huge leap forward. After a while, Mei Xuan returned. This time, everyone will only be consuming the exquisite lotus. However, I suggest that you don't use the 7-colored holy fruit to stimulate the medicinal energy in one go. Instead, let it circulate in your body on its own, slowly changing your physique and nourishing your body. It will take about a year or so for this energy to truly fuse with your body. At that time, consuming the exquisite lotus and 7-colored holy fruit again will not affect the medicinal energy this time. Let's turn this time's effect into something that will slowly benefit you for the rest of your life. Jun Moxie said solemnly. All the girls nodded. At this time, Miao Xiaomiao remembered Dugu Xiaoyi's words, "We're all sisters, if you eat it, you'll be giving this guy face." We're all sisters? Where did this come from? Could it be that? June Moxie had designs on him? These were words that struck at the heart. Thinking of this, Meow Xiao Meow's heart trembled. She couldn't help but feel a strong sense of disgust in her heart. If he had thought of this earlier, he would have rather let that piece of exquisite lotus root rot than eat it. Manor Lord June's generous gift of spirit medicine is something that Xiao Miao is extremely grateful for. If there's a chance, I will definitely come with my husband to thank Manor Lord June. Meow Xiao Miao bowed deeply and said to June Moxie. The true meaning of this sentence was naturally not just to thank him. It was to say, I already have a husband. If you have any other thoughts, it's best to dispel them as soon as possible. So little sister Meow already has someone in her heart? Already married? Mei Shuiyan looked at Meow Xiao Miao with a strange expression in her eyes. An extremely strange expression also appeared on Guan Qinghan's face, as if she wanted to laugh, but was holding it in. When Meow Xiao Miao heard this question, she thought of her own Mo Junyi and couldn't help but reveal a face full of happiness. That's right, my husband treats me very well. He's the person who cares and loves me the most in this world. Little sister Meow, that husband of yours, what does he look like? Duga Xiao Yi was especially curious about how June Moxie looked when he was in the Misty Mansion, so she came over to gossip. Meow Xiao Miao was very gloomy. This girl looked much younger than her. She was probably 2 or 3 years younger than her. She actually had the cheek to call her little sister. Only the heavens knew where this nickname of little sister came from. My husband's surname is Mo, he. Meow Xiao Miao smiled and closed her eyes slightly. It was as if her own Mo Junyi was right in front of her, smiling at her. His figure is similar to Manor Lord June's, but his appearance is far from Manor Lord June's. He can be said to be quite ordinary. His skin is a little dark, and he really can't be considered outstanding. Meow Xiao Miao smiled as she described slowly. Her face was filled with a strong sense of satisfaction. So this fellow's acting was very ugly at that time. Dugu Xiao Yi and the rest thought in their hearts. Acting so ugly, and he actually managed to woo a flower from the Misty Mansion. That's really amazing. Although that Mo Lang of mine is not handsome, he is a good person. His heart is even better. He treats me wholeheartedly. Meow Xiao Miao said happily. He's extremely talented. I don't know what he doesn't know in this world. He's very gentle and attentive. As she said that, Meow Xiao Miao felt that the atmosphere in the surroundings seemed a little strange. Opening her eyes, she saw that the evil monarch was rubbing his nose with his head lowered. His expression seemed a little ugly, and the faces of the women around him actually had a strong jealousy. It's useless even if you guys are jealous. Junyi belongs to me. Thinking about this, Meow Xiao Miao felt a sense of pride rise in her heart. My husband is extremely talented. He's written poems for me many times, composed lyrics for me, composed songs for me. Meow Xiao Miao's words were already a little boastful. What? Wrote poems for you? Composed lyrics for you? And composed songs for you? All the women asked in unison, clearly envious. The smell of jealousy in the room was getting stronger and stronger. That's right. Meow Xiao Miao's pride grew even stronger as she said contentedly, when my husband and I pledged our love, it was also when I was going through the venerable heavenly tribulation. At that time, I could no longer hold on. It was my husband who risked his life to accompany me. Then, he recited a poem and proposed to me. I still remember it until now. Sigh, I've said it so stupidly. How can I forget the words of our alliance in this lifetime? Words of alliance. Poem? What poem? All the women's eyes were burning with anger. This fellow also accompanied us through the heavenly tribulation previously. Why didn't he recite a poem then? Didn't he show his talent? Over 10 pairs of eyes instantly landed on June Moxie. June Dashao felt a chill run down his spine as he looked at Meow Xiao Miao. Great aunt, you're still going to say it? I'm going to drown them in vinegar. At that time, he asked me, the sky is the tent, the earth is the bed, the wind is the delicacy, the rain is the wine, the cloud is the wedding, the fog is the witness, the thunder is the betrothal gift, and the lightning is the matchmaker. In this life, are you willing to be my woman? Meow Xiao Meow naturally couldn't hear what June Moxie was saying in his heart. She used a dreamy tone and said softly, "Do you know?" At that moment, my entire heart was intoxicated. If it were me, I'd be intoxicated too. All the women thought jealously. Thinking of that poem, all the women felt intoxicated just thinking about it. That was such a romantic scene. You're intoxicated, but our hearts are about to break now. Sob sob. This heartless woman. June Dashao's face turned greener and greener, and he was about to break down. Big sister Meow, don't be intoxicated. Please have mercy with your words. Do you want your dear June Ye's life? But Meow Xiao Meow wouldn't shut up. She said it to dispel his thoughts. So why would she shut up? If this fellow dared to go and propose marriage with his status, it would really be the biggest problem. Who knows, the misty illusory manner might even agree. At that time, I was undergoing the heavenly tribulation. I really felt that I couldn't hold on anymore. The sky was filled with thunder and lightning, the ground was shaking, the rain was pouring, the wind was howling, and the clouds were everywhere. But in that kind of weather, in that kind of crisis, I didn't feel anything. I only felt happiness, sincere happiness. Meow Xiao Meow's mind had obviously returned to that day. At that time, I thought even if I die now, it's worth it. A woman, in the moment of life and death, there's someone who loves her to go through life and death with her. Moreover, it's the person she loves the most, and at that time, she obtained her life's happiness and decided where she belongs in life. If it's us, we'll feel that it's worth it even if we die now. The women became even more jealous. They looked at June Moxie's eyes as if they wanted to swallow him alive. June Dashao coughed dryly, and a layer of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. I'm dead, I'm really dead this time. Looking at the resentful gazes that filled the room, June Dashao's heart trembled. My dear Xiao Miao, you've really killed your husband this time. I didn't expect that the heavenly tribulation would be successful, and we're both still alive. So, from that time on, I swore that I would follow my husband through life and death, and never leave him. Meow Xiao Miao's voice sounded like a vow. Can I ask, your husband, what's his cultivation? Dugu Xiao Yi's eyes turned, and no one knew what she was thinking. His current cultivation is not high, only a golden xian. Meow Xiao Miao said, and suddenly said proudly, but that's because he has never met a good teacher, and he started cultivating late. But my husband has the rare free and natural physique. Once he starts, he's unstoppable. The Nine Nether First Young Master also had this kind of free and natural physique, and in the entire Xian continent, only 2 people with the free and natural physique have appeared in the past 10,000 years, and that's my husband and the Nine Nether First Young Master. Our Misty Mansion believes that Jun Yi will be the next Nine Nether First Young Master, and the only person who has the chance to surpass the Nine Nether First Young Master in these 10,000 years. Afraid that everyone didn't know the value of the free and natural physique, Meow Xiao Meow specially explained it. Chapter 1085. Looking at June Moxie, Meow Xiao Meow felt a little guilty and regretted saying those words. Because she knew that no matter how hard Mo Junyi worked, this evil monarch June Moxie had already walked far ahead of him. A 19-year-old Saint Venerable. The lord of the evil monarch manor, the evil monarch. With such fame in June Moxie's age, he was destined to become a legend in the continent. Even if Mo Junyi had the legendary free and natural physique, he was still too late. If he wanted to reach June Moxie's level of cultivation, he would have to wait at least 100 years. At that time, the world would definitely be in a completely different state, but I will not let my Junyi compare with him. This June Moxie is a playboy through and through. He already has so many beauties and he still has designs on me, Meow Xiao Meow thought angrily. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt that Mo Junyi was much better than June Moxie. Junyi is so devoted, no matter if it's to that elder sister or to me. I really envy you, Guan Qinghan said softly. This sentence was from the bottom of her heart. Meow Xiao Meow smiled. Elder sister Guan is flattering me. Who doesn't know that Manor Lord Jun used his meager strength to go against the Shui Hun Manor and the entire Tianxiang for you? He did not hesitate to kill with his sword, causing blood to flow like a river. He was condemned by thousands of people, but he did not even bat an eyelid. Elder Sister Guan, as a woman, to have a man do this for you, you are the one who is worthy of my envy. Guan Qinghan's expression softened. Thinking back to everything Jun Moxie had done for her back then, the more she thought about it, the more tender her heart became. The way she looked at Jun Moxie also became more and more affectionate. It was him who changed my bitter life. He gave me happiness. As a woman, what else do I have to be dissatisfied with? The jealous gazes of all the girls focused on Guan Qinghan. Younger sister Xiao Miao, your husband even composed a song for you? Can we enjoy it for a while? Among us sisters, we are all proficient in music, and our attainments are not low. Mei Shuiyan's words were obviously to add trouble to Jun Moxie's troubles. How could they all be proficient in music? It seemed that only Raimu, Guan Qinghan, and Han Yanmeng were proficient in music. As for the other girls, they did not have much interest in this field. Dugu Xiaoyi was naturally lively, and she grew up in a military family. If it was about wielding a spear or a stick, she was still rather good at it. And that last Ku'er, if Jun Dashao had transmigrated a few years earlier, this lass would probably have been nurtured by Dashao to become a talented woman. It was a pity that Jun Moxie transmigrated at the wrong time, and this lass was delayed. Moreover, this lass was wholeheartedly focused on helping Jun Moxie. Whenever she had time, she would practice martial arts. How would she have the time to learn music theory and knowledge? Shui Yen. Jun Moxie looked at Mei Shuiyan anxiously, obviously asking for help. What are you shouting for? In the past, us sisters thought that you were a passable person, but now we know what it means to compare oneself to others and to throw away goods. In order to treat everyone equally, later on, you will write a poem, a song, and then a song for all of us sisters. Look at her husband, he is so talented. If you can't do it, you know the consequences. Mei Shuiyan said fiercely. With a clatter, Jun Moxie sat down on a chair, his whole body paralyzed. This was going to cost him his life. That's right, brother Amos, you must write it. If you can't, or if you don't write it well, Dugu Xiaoyi bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she threatened. Sisters, this matter can't be rushed. As the saying goes, a ruler has its shortcomings, and an inch has its strengths. Everyone has their own emphasis. Manor Lord Jun is not familiar with this field, so there's no point in forcing him. Literature and music are the same as Xian skills. It also requires talent. Miao Xiao Miao came out to save the situation, rejoicing in Jun Moxie's misfortune. Furthermore, it needs to be nurtured for a long period of time, and he needs to have a deep level of accomplishment, dabble in all aspects, and be proficient in it. Sisters, please don't force him. Lest Manor Lord Jun finds it difficult, that would not be good. Jun Moxie covered his eyes with his hands in pain, his whole body curled up in the chair. Heavens, you call this persuasion? Little sister Xiao Miao, you don't have to bother about this matter. If Amos Xie can't do it, we can't do anything to him, this Lord Evil Monarch. At most, we can just ignore him. Mei Shuiyan said lightly. Let's listen to the song that little sister Xiao Miao's husband composed for her first. We're not unreasonable people, so we'll just use this as the standard. Sisters, is this standard acceptable? That's great, I'll go get the qin. Dugu Xiaoyi stood up with a whoosh and ran out. Using my Junye's song as the standard? Looks like this evil monarch is really in trouble this time. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Moxie sympathetically, but in her heart, she was rejoicing in his misfortune. Brat, don't think that your Xian skills are high, and your status is high, but compared to my Jun, who do you think you are? You actually dare to have designs on this old lady? See if I don't play you to death. Miao Xiao Miao decided in her heart that when the qin came, she would definitely bring out her best. Let this Jun Moxie suffer for a while. Dugu Xiaoyi's speed seemed to be very fast. Only the sound of her footsteps could be heard. She was already holding an antique zither in her arms. All the women looked at Jun Amos Xie, and the look in their eyes was self-evident. The sins of the heavens could be avoided, but the sins of one's own actions could not be avoided. Right now, Jun Dashao was the one who had brought these sins upon himself. Jun Moxie let out a long sigh, his tone filled with hidden bitterness, like a resentful wife. Heavens ah, earth ah, why is my life so bitter? Miao Xiao Miao sat in front of the Qin and plucked the strings casually, and the sound of gold and jade rang out. Good Qin. Miao Xiao Miao's expression changed. This zither was even superior to the one she had in the misty, illusory manner. This Qin's body is made from the heart of a 10,000-year-old dragon roar wood, and the strings are made from the tendons of a purple dragon from the bottom of the sea and the silk of a heavenly worm. These are the materials that Mo Xie collected, and I made it myself. Guan Qinhan said with a smile. Sister Guan is a great talent. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Guan Qinhan with respect. It was not a big deal to know how to play the Qin. As long as one was a daughter of a noble family, it was rare for one to not know how to play the Qin. But when it came to making a Qin, it was extremely difficult. It was even more difficult to make a Qin that was exquisite and had the best sound quality. This little sister here is showing my incompetence. Miao Xiao Miao took 2 deep breaths, and her slender fingers moved agilely, and the melodious sound of the Qin suddenly rang out. The sound was lingering, and everyone felt as if they were looking at the falling flowers in front of them. Song of the Burial of Flowers. The lingering sound of the Qin rang out leisurely. It was only the beginning, but Guan Qinhan and the other girls were already lost in this beautiful and sorrowful melody. The falling flowers fill the sky. Miao Xiao Miao sang along with the sound of the Qin, and Mo Junye's voice and smile floated in her heart. She only felt that her heart was filled with sweetness. This song of the Burial of Flowers was actually sung by her into a little happiness. Naturally, since he was in such a happy mood, he only played the tune. Naturally, he didn't immerse himself in the original mood. But even so, it was enough. After a long while, the sound of the Qin gradually faded, and it ended. The room was silent, because the lingering melody had not ended, and it continued without end. After a long time, Mei Xuan let out a long breath and said, "This song, what is it called?" Song of the Burial of Flowers. Miao Xiao Miao replied, "This song, was it really written by your husband for you?" Although Guan Qinhan, who was well versed in music, was also full of praise for this song, she still had a doubt. Although this song can be said to be a classic, but, for a man who deeply loves his wife to write it for his wife, it's a little strange, isn't it? Miao Xiao Miao's face turned red, and she was momentarily speechless. This song was used by Mo Junyi during the competition that day. How was it specially written for her? In order to attack this somewhat lecherous evil monarch, she did not hesitate to boast about it. Who would have thought that Guan Qinhan's attainments in the way of music would be so profound? She had clearly changed the mood of the song, but she was still able to hear the original intention of the song. This question had really caused her to fall into a trap. Just as Guan Qinhan had said, such a song would definitely not be given between lovers. All the girls looked at each other and smiled. How could they not know the reason behind it? Naturally, they would not pursue the matter further. But because of this small interlude, their hatred towards Jun Dashao had decreased a little. As long as it wasn't specially written for someone, it would be fine. Following that, everyone asked a few more questions, and asked Miao Xiao Miao to recite the poem that Jun Moxie had written. Miao Xiao Miao's spirits were lifted. Naturally, she was very happy to show off her lover's talent in front of her new sisters. This gave her a great sense of satisfaction. When are the spring flowers and autumn moon gone? The moment this poem was spoken, all the girls were stunned. All of their beautiful eyes turned to look at Jun Moxie. Who would have thought that this #1 silk pants of Tianxiang would actually have such a hidden skill? But the unforgivable thing was, there were so many sisters in the house, but not only did he not make them happy, he even went out to flirt with girls and performed such an eye-catching performance. Could it be that the flowers in the house were not as fragrant as the wildflowers? Or was it because the ones in the house had already been decided, and could not run away, so he did not care so much? This was really intolerable. Jun Dashao's hidden skill had thoroughly enraged everyone. The anger that had just subsided a little rose again. When the poem, "Those who obey the heavens may not exist, those who defy the heavens should laugh, who is like me, pointing my sword at the waves of the world. The sun and moon enter my bosom, watch me dominate the world." Once that poem was spoken, the resentment in the hearts of all the girls could no longer be contained. June Dashao could no longer sit still. The last of the 36 stratagems. This, Miss Meow, let's talk? June Moxie rubbed his hands together. It's over. This time he had knocked over so many vinegar jars. I'm not interested in talking to you. Meow Xiao Meow snorted and turned her head away, obviously not wanting to talk to him. What do you want to talk to Sister Meow about? What's so important that you can't talk about it in front of us sisters? If you want to talk about it, that's fine. But first, you have to pay off your debts to us sisters. After that, we can talk about other things. Mei Shuiyan was now incorruptible. She glared at him and refused to let him go. Chapter 1086. Xiao Ying watched from the side with a smile. Oh, this and that? June Moxie racked his brains to think. It seemed like he had to plagiarize again today. Shui Yen is right. Then I'll compose a poem for you first. June Moxie cleared his throat. All the girls looked at him expectantly. Naturally, there were many who rejoiced in his misfortune. For example, Meow Xiao Meow. Right now, she was laughing so hard in her heart. You're just a martial artist, and you dare to say you know how to write poems? At most, you'll write some nondescript limericks. I'll watch you make a fool of yourself today. You want to compare yourself to my Jun Yi with your pitiful appearance? I got it. Shui Yan's grace and magnanimity gave me inspiration. June Moxie took 3 steps and snapped his fingers. Clothes on the clouds, face on the flowers, dew on the balustrade in the spring breeze. If we don't meet at the top of the Jade Mountain, we'll meet under the moon. All the girls were shocked. Meow Xiao Meow was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Could it be that this June Moxie was really a monster? It seemed like he only thought about it for a short period of time and came up with a poem in 3 steps. Furthermore, it was such a meaningful poem that suited Mei Shuiyan's identity and temperament. This poetic sentiment might not necessarily be inferior to my Junyi, right? No, this should be a coincidence. It must be a coincidence. Alright, now it's Qing Han's turn. Mei Shuiyan first received praise from her lover, and then such a beautiful poem that could be passed down through the ages. Her heart was filled with satisfaction, and the corners of her eyes were filled with happiness. However, her mouth urged, Qing Han, and I got it. June Moxie pretended to frown as he turned around twice. Then he snapped his fingers again. I got it again. A famous flower that can topple a country and make 2 people happy together, so beautiful that the monarch looks on with a smile. Explaining the boundless hatred of the spring breeze, the north of the Agarwood Pavilion is dry. Everyone's eyes popped out. June Moxie actually had this trick up his sleeve. The lines of infinite hatred and leaning on the window to dry up in this poem were really in line with Guan Qing Han's unique temperament, that kind of hazy sorrow. A genius. The eyes of all the girls were sparkling like stars. Dugu Xiaoyi was the only one among the girls who had seen June Moxie compose a poem. It was at the Golden Scholar Banquet. But when she recalled June Moxie's poem, even Dugu Xiaoyi felt ashamed. You want to talk about love with me? Don't talk to me about love, I'm too bad. Don't be infatuated with me, I'm just a legend. Don't provoke me, I'll make you vomit blood. You call that a poem? That was simply unbearable rubbish. It was just a pile of dog-sh*t with a little personality, so Dugu Xiaoyi never expected that one day June Moxie could also compose a poem, even if it was a limerick. Now, everything in front of her made Dugu Xiaoyi's mouth open wider and wider. In the end, she couldn't help but rub her eyes hard. Is this really June Moxie? I'm not dreaming, am I? Meow Xiao Meow also rubbed her eyes. This was too shocking. If one insisted that composing a poem was by chance, it might be barely acceptable. But the second one came out, was it still by chance? Finally, Under the expectation and pressure of all the girls, June Moxie composed a poem for each of the beauties present, finally suppressing this resentment. In the end, even Xiaoying received a poem from June Moxie. There is a beauty in the north, peerless and independent. A glance can topple a city, another glance can topple a country. Rather than topple a city or topple a country, it is hard to find a beauty again. Everyone was happy. Everyone looked at June Moxie with admiration in their eyes. Too awesome! Too awesome! In less than a blink of an eye, a few poems came out, and each of them was a classic among classics. Even the top poets in the world didn't have such talent. He was really the greatest poet. If June Moxie knew what they were thinking, he would definitely be very depressed. So the greatest poet was forced to come out like this. Only Miao Xiao Miao was a little depressed in admiration. How could this guy be so good? He looked so effeminate and didn't have the slightest bit of manliness, yet he was so talented in poetry. The heavens must be blind. If June Moxie knew what Miao Xiao Miao was thinking, he would probably vomit a mouthful of blood. I'm just a little handsome. How am I sissy? How am I not manly? Seeing that all the girls were looking at June Dashao with admiration and happiness, Miao Xiao Miao couldn't help but roll her eyes. Is there a need to worship him like this? He only knows how to write a few slanted poems, unlike my Jun Yi, who can even play music. As she thought about it, her jade-like hands lightly plucked the zither a few times, a trace of longing in her eyes. Junyi, where are you? Do you know how much I miss you right now? If you came over now, how good would it be to put a stop to this evil monarch's arrogance? And let them know that my Junyi is the best. This plucking of the zither made all the girls come back to their senses. He managed to fool them with the poems, but what about the songs? What about the songs for each of them? This guy actually wrote a song for Miao Xiao Miao alone. This is simply intolerable. One had to say, once a woman's jealousy was triggered, it was very scary. Although all the girls already knew that the song was not specially written by June Moxie for Miao Xiao Miao, but as long as a woman set her mind on something, if she said it was, then it was. So, a moment ago, June Moxie was still basking in the adoring gazes, but in the next moment, he was instantly thrown into a wave of condemnation. Compose. And it was the same old rule, one song for each of them. This request almost made June Dashao vomit 3 liters of blood. And all of you must be tired after listening to so many poems. I'll go see what Fatty Tang is doing. Don't let this fellow bring disaster to our evil monarch manor. June Moxie randomly found an excuse to slip away, but he was blocked by Mei Shuiyan at the door. Following that, Du Guxiaoyi and the rest swarmed over, blocking the door tightly. Wanna leave? Wishful thinking, no way. Looking at the group of female kings blocking the door, June Dashao could only smile bitterly and cry out in his heart, "Help beauties, please do me a favor? Let me tell you, composing a song is not as easy as eating cabbages. No matter what, you must first have inspiration and then a period of time to brew, and then slowly ponder over it, changing the draft a few times, before you can form a prototype. You don't know how difficult it is to compose a song, June Moxie said with a bitter face. June Dashao put on a pitiful act, hoping to gain the forgiveness of the girls, but he didn't expect things to turn out contrary to his wishes. Not only did his pitiful act not gain any sympathy, it instead added fuel to the fire. The girls' aura seemed to rise again, and all of their faces flushed red. June Moxie was a little confused and puzzled. So Big Brother Moxie thinks that I don't know what a song is, so you never talk to me about it. No wonder you don't even have the interest to compose a song in front of me, Du Guxiaoyi said with a pout. The little girl's eyes were full of tears, and she looked like she was going to cry at any moment. June Dashao was a little dumbfounded. What did I say? What did I say? I didn't say anything. What else is there to say? We don't understand the difficulty of composing a song, we only know how to eat cabbages. I really envy Sister Miao. She has a considerate husband, and the two of them are like-minded. That's what you call a perfect match, a match made in heaven. You don't need to say anything, we all understand. Mei Shuiyan said in a strange tone. It looked like Mei Shuiyan was determined to make things difficult for him today. June Dashao didn't just look a little dumbfounded, He was on the verge of breaking down. His eyes stared blankly. What's with that? I didn't mean it that way. Isn't this accusing me to death? Miao Xiao Miao hurriedly tried to mediate. Big sisters, Manor Lord Jun is speaking the truth. Composing a song requires inspiration the most. If there's no inspiration, then even the most powerful of geniuses can't do it. So he doesn't have any inspiration when he's with us. Why does Sister Miao's husband only have so much inspiration? It looks like the two of them have a good relationship. Han Yenmeng curled her lips and said sourly. Jun Moxie was completely defeated, and he was completely depressed. He reluctantly begged for mercy. This thing is really not something that can be obtained in a hurry. Even if I'm a deity, I can't do it. Big sisters, please spare me. It wasn't that difficult for Jun Dashao to have a song for everyone. He had a lot of classic songs in his memory, but he couldn't indulge the temper of this group of women. Otherwise, they would ask for a song for no reason in the future. No matter how much he remembered, it would be of no use, and sooner or later he would run out of money. Besides, it wasn't that rare to take out too many songs at once. The women saw that Jun Dashao was flustered and exasperated. They weren't pretending, but their eyes were focused on Guan Qinghan. When it came to poetry, Guan Qinghan could be said to be a great expert in this field, and her attainments were even better than Jun Moxie, the plagiarism expert. At this time, everyone was willing to listen to her opinion. Guan Qinghan didn't join forces to attack Jun Dashao like the other women just now. There was no other reason, but because of Miao Xiao Miao's accidental words just now, she fell into contemplation, recalling Jun Moxie's feelings for her, his kindness to her, and his love for her. All the women fixed their eyes on Guan Qinghan, and she instantly came to her senses. She said softly, "Sisters, what Mo Xie said is right. Whether it's writing lyrics, music, poetry, or painting, as long as it's a good work, there must be an opportunity. Although Mo Xie's talent is extraordinary, he has written so many poems for us just now, and his talent is exhausted. It's really difficult to force him to compose a song. Even if he is forced to do it, it's bound to be an inferior work, so it's better not to do it. Sisters, please consider it." Chapter 1087. Miao Xiao Miao, who was standing at the side, had a look of schadenfreude on her face, waiting to watch a good show. The more outstanding Jun Moxie's performance was, the angrier she got. She had to see this brat make a fool of himself. Miao Xiao Miao was Jun Moxie's woman. Miao Xiao Miao herself didn't know, but Jun Dashao himself was very aware of it. The way he looked at Miao Xiao Miao was naturally different from how he looked at other people. But it was also because of this wretched look in his eyes that brought him such a calamity. If Jun Dashao knew that the root of his bad luck today was actually this, he would probably regret it so much that his intestines would turn green. Apart from his intestines turning green, his face would also turn green. She's obviously my wife, and we've already done that. Why can't I look at her? Is there any justice in this? Is there any reason? Alright. Then I'll show off my skills and compose a song for all of you. I'll let all of you see my prowess. It seems that if I don't shock all of you, you won't know how amazing and unparalleled your husband is. How about that? Seeing that it was really difficult to offend everyone now, composing a song was the best result so far. Jun Moxie had no choice but to compromise, but he stated his conditions in advance. But I'll make it clear that there's only one song. If you want more, it'll take a long time and a burst of inspiration. All right. All the women agreed at the same time and didn't make things difficult for him anymore. In fact, all the women understood that even if they didn't understand music, it would take a long time for a song to take shape. They were so unrelenting just now because they couldn't get rid of their jealousy. It was already a pleasant surprise that he was forced to compose a song on the spot today. Even if this song wasn't good, he would still pass. How could he really compose a new song if it wasn't good enough? Miao Xiao Miao saw that he actually wanted to compose a song on the spot and was greatly surprised. Jun Ye's song took a long time to compose, so if Jun Moxie could compose a song on the spot, even if it was slightly inferior, it would still be extremely rare. But does this guy really have this ability? I had my suspicions. If he was really doing it half-heartedly, I would definitely point it out to him and persuade his wives. If he didn't do it well, he would redo it until everyone was satisfied. Someone like him wants to be compared to my Junyi. It's fine if it's just a song, but before that, I want to tell you a short story. That's because this song is based on this story. Jun Moxie naturally had to lay the groundwork. Once upon a time, there was a young scholar named Liang Shanbo. In order to obtain scholarly honors, he entered an academy to study. This time, he suddenly thought of Liang Zhu. After all, the song of the burial of flowers was beautiful and desolate. Whether it was the lyrics or the mood, they were all rare. If one wanted to find a song that was on par with the song of the burial of flowers, or even slightly better, then it would probably be the Butterfly Lovers. Of course, it wasn't that there weren't better or more classic songs in his previous life. But in Jun Moxie's memory, he couldn't remember that many. As the saying goes, everyone has their own specialties. Cough cough, the most important thing was that Jun Moxie couldn't remember that many. In despair, Liang Shanbo fell sick from depression and vomited blood and died. In the end, when Zhu Yingtai walked to Liang Shanbo's grave, there was an earth-shattering sound. The grave suddenly split open and wrapped Zhu Yingtai inside. Then, a seven-colored smoke rose from inside. After the smoke dissipated, 2 butterflies flew out, free and in pairs. And in the grave, the 2 corpses were gone. It turned out that the love of this pair of lovers had moved the heavens, causing them to turn into butterflies and stay together for the rest of their lives, accompanying each other to the ends of the earth. After Jun Moxie finished speaking, the surroundings were filled with choking sounds. He turned around and saw that all the women's eyes were red. Even the calm Qiao Ying and the calm Mei Xuan couldn't help but cry. This song is based on this story. It's called Butterfly Transformation. Jun Moxie slowly sat in front of the zither. He stretched out his hand and plucked the strings. The melodious sound of the zither rang out. Originally, this song was most lifelike when played on the violin. But the music theory was the same, so it wasn't impossible to play it on the zither. However, the sound quality of the violin naturally had a kind of natural, poignant rhythm. If played on the zither, it would be a little too clear and melodious. The green grass is green and the blue flowers are in full bloom, the colorful butterflies are lingering for a long time. The deep love that has been passed down through the ages, Liang Shanbo will forever love Zhu Yingtai. Along with the sound of the zither, Jun Moxie sang in a low voice, "We studied together for 3 whole years. Sitting side by side without any misgivings. We sent each other off for 18 years, but who knew that we would part on the balcony?" As he sang, the women seemed to see a scene in front of them. A man and a woman met in the academy. The woman was dressed as a man, but the man didn't know. They didn't know each other's identities until they were about to part. They sent each other off reluctantly, said their farewells, promised each other to be forever in love, and made a pact of 3 lives. Then they parted reluctantly, but who knew that it was a dream that couldn't be fulfilled after parting? Liang Shanbo went to the Zhu family to ask for her hand in marriage. When he returned home, he was filled with grief and indignation. When he heard that the Zhu family and the Ma family had made a marriage agreement, he fell sick and died. When Yingtai heard that Liang Shanbo died for her, she was heartbroken and swore to never marry again. However, fate made fools of her. The Ma family came to welcome her, but for the sake of her family, Yingtai had no choice but to get on the sedan chair. When they arrived at Liang Shanbo's grave, Yingtai insisted on getting off the sedan chair to pay her respects. Under the influence of Yingtai's grief, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning broke the grave. Yingtai jumped into the grave, and the grave closed. The wind and rain stopped, and a rainbow hung high in the sky. Liang Shanbo turned into butterflies and fluttered in the world. Jun Moxie had obviously overlooked the power of this song. In Jun Moxie's later life, this song, transforming into a butterfly, was passed down by everyone, praising the Liang couple's unwavering love. Everyone sympathized with them, but they couldn't truly understand the helplessness they felt. But now, it was different. Guan Qing Han, Han Yen Meng, Miao Xiao Miao, Dugu Xiaoi. Which one of these girls wasn't a descendant of a big family? Which one of them didn't know the helplessness of a girl in a big family? In this world, more than 90% of the girls in the big families had to sacrifice themselves for the family's benefit and become a tool for marriage alliances. Both families were cheering for the benefit of the two families, but who cared about the life of the girl who married them? How was her mood? She was the daughter of the family, and the family provided her with food and clothing, so she naturally had to work hard for the family. Even if she wasn't happy after marriage, it would just be a long sigh. But this sigh would destroy the happiness and longing of a girl's life, the times, the interests, and this was the most tragic thing in this kind of era. Some people criticized women for always succumbing to this kind of pressure, but they never thought about why women succumb to this kind of pressure. Because there were parents in the family who raised them, how could they forget the grace of raising them? Not to mention the ancient times, even in modern China, there were such families and such women. Love and family, which was more important? This was a question that would never have an answer. Guan Qinghan could be said to have experienced it firsthand. Even a girl like Miao Xiaomiao wouldn't have been able to escape this kind of fate if she didn't have the elixir garden, the protection of the title of a genius, and the lucky encounter with Mo Junyi in the end. There was also Han Yanmeng. This little girl had become the sacrificial lamb of this political marriage. However, she was more fortunate. The person she was going to marry was the person she had always liked. It was just that it was rare to find someone as lucky as her. Even the carefree Du Guxiaoyi wouldn't have been able to decide her future marriage if she hadn't met Jun Moxie, and if she hadn't fallen in love with him. But even so, Du Guxiaoyi still used all her methods, used all her magic treasures, and made countless efforts to resist, and finally obtained the approval of her family for the marriage between her and Jun Moxie. In this matter, everyone could see that Du Guxiaoyi was willful, even mischievous, and unruly. But who would have thought that if Du Guxiaoyi wasn't so willful, and if she didn't recklessly cause trouble, then what would the ending of these two people be? Considering the Dugu family's previous impression and attitude towards Jun Moxie, and considering the political environment of Tianxiang at that time, it was absolutely impossible to allow the Jun family and the Dugu family to unite through marriage. Thinking about Jun Moxie's temperament, would he have taken the initiative to fight for it? If it wasn't for Du Guxiaoyi putting down all the reservations of a girl, and not putting in so much effort, it could be imagined that what awaited Du Guxiaoyi would only be a tragedy. So this song, Butterfly Transformation, had touched the most painful heart of all the women of this era. And in fact, the legend of the butterfly lovers was also the ancient people's resistance and longing for this kind of helpless marriage, or perhaps it was an extravagant hope. Even if they couldn't be husband and wife in life, they would turn into butterflies and dance together in death. Rather than saying this was a beautiful persistence, it was better to say that it was a hopeless dream. It was just that all the people who were in love but couldn't be together hoped that this dream could become a reality. Wishing all the lovers in the world to be together was the most beautiful legend since ancient times. The greatest wish. But how many pairs of lovers could be together since ancient times? As Guan Qinghan listened, she suddenly thought of Murong Xiao and Yigahan. Her eyes reddened, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Weren't these two people just like the butterfly lovers? In fact, they might not even be as good as the butterfly lovers. If it wasn't for Jun Moxie, they wouldn't even be able to fulfill their wish of being buried together. That I'd rather betray the heavens than betray my lover love legend. Unfortunately, to fulfill that dream, there was still a prerequisite. If it wasn't finished in the next life. Because they all knew that this life was destined to be hopeless. So they could only pin their hopes on the next life. But how uncertain was that? Even Miao Xiaomiao was deeply immersed in it. She was also very accomplished in music, and she had walked through that fork in the road, so she naturally had a deeper understanding of it. The song ended. For a long time, no one spoke, except for a burst of suppressed sobbing. Chapter 1088. The old man was an outstanding assassin, but the methods and channels he used to train the orphans, including himself, Was he really training assassins? Maybe, maybe not, but this question, Jun Moxie would never have the chance to know the answer, but he always believed that those who had received the old man's training, even if one day they got tired of being an assassin, no matter what profession they chose, they would still be able to live a good life. The old man's unimaginably strict, sadistic supervision made him and the others learn too many things. Moreover, every knowledge was accompanied by countless unforgettable pain. Even if they wanted to forget, they couldn't. It had long been branded into their souls. When they really walked out, they would find that there were so many things they could do, and could do well, and in fact, before Junxia, there had been fellow apprentices who had suggested to the old man that they didn't want to be an assassin anymore. They wanted to settle down and live a normal life. Jun Moxie had never found out how the old man dealt with these people, and the old man had never mentioned it. But at that time, the old man's expression was always very strange. But after a period of time, under Junxia's deliberate investigation, the information that originally belonged to those people, the files, the information of the previous missions, everything that belonged to the assassins, had all disappeared. What did this mean? What did it mean? Was it to be completely erased, or completely destroyed? But one thing was for sure, as long as these things were gone, no one in the world would be able to dig out the past evidence of those people's crimes. At least they wouldn't have to live in fear for the rest of their lives. Thinking of this, Jun Moxie let out a long sigh. He thought to himself, "Old man, what kind of person are you?" Then, Jun Moxie opened his eyes, only to find that the eyes of the 7 women in the room were tightly locked on him. It seemed that even Miao Xiao Miao and Xiao Ying were the same. In their beautiful eyes, there was surprise, disbelief, and deep admiration. "Brother Mo-xie?" Dugu Xiaoyi's voice was still a little choked. "This song is so beautiful. I'm crying listening to it." "That's right, ah." All the girls began to discuss heatedly. Only Guan Qinghan and Miao Xiao Miao took out a piece of paper and hurriedly jotted something down. Clearly, they were trying to record down this butterfly transformation. If such a classic and worthy song were to be lost, it would truly be a pity. This Liang Shanbo is really pitiful. It's a pity that he doesn't know any mysterious techniques. Otherwise, a country gentleman like Zhu Yingtai would have sent his daughter to him to curry favor. He's really stupid. After being together for 3 years, he still didn't realize that Zhu Yingtai was a woman. The worst one is that Ma Wenkai. "Brother Mo-xie, since you knew about this, why didn't you kill that Ma Wenkai? What's the point of keeping scum like him?" "That's right. This kind of person doesn't deserve to die." At the end of the day, Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai are the most pitiful. Fortunately, they ended up together in the end. I hope the heavens have mercy on them and allow them to be husband and wife in their next life and the next. Even Mei Xuan was a little moved. She sighed deeply and said, "Mo-xie, where did you hear this story? It's really touching." I heard this story by accident. Not many people know about this story. It should have happened in a very remote place. That's why it hasn't been spread outside." Jun Moxie stammered as he replied. Guan Qinghan also said, "That's right. Don't look at how sad we are. If this story were to fall into the ears of the elders of the clans, they would definitely criticize Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai. In their eyes, the real traitors are Liang Shanbo and Zhu Yingtai. If this story can be spread, then it would be a rare thing." Jun Moxie was stunned. He didn't expect Guan Qinghan to have such knowledge. However, what she said was the truth. "Manor Lord Jun is really amazing." Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Moxie in admiration and praised, "Your talent can be considered equal to my husband's. Even if it's slightly inferior, it has far surpassed the others." Jun Mo-xie didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This girl thought too highly of Mo Junyi. He'd even created butterfly lovers, but it was only a tie. Not only that, it was even slightly worse. This was too depressing, too embarrassing. This girl was still stubborn even at this time. Dugu Xiaoyi curled her lips in a secretive manner. The other women also looked very satisfied. Dugu Xiaoyi and the others had obviously regarded this butterfly transformation as a victory for their sisters. The result was obvious. This song was naturally more moving than the song of the burial of flowers. The only fly in the ointment was that the lyrics were slightly inferior, but it wasn't by much. Dugu Xiao Yi was obviously satisfied. Sister Qing Han, have you memorized it? In the future, we will be counting on you to play it. Dugu Xiao Yi called out. Why is there such an unnecessary move? Why not just let Manor Lord Jun play and sing? Miao Xiao Miao buried a bomb for Jun Moxie. Dugu Xiao Yi said gloomily, this guy is too lazy. Apart from flirting with girls that he hasn't gotten yet or showing his hand when he's cornered, it's harder to make him move than to ascend to the heavens. I don't dare to have such extravagant hopes anymore. Little sister Xiao Miao, let me tell you, all men are the same. Don't be fooled by how that husband of yours composed poems and songs for you back then. Heh, now that you've already fallen for him, I'm sure he won't compose for you anymore. Only those who haven't gotten their hands on you are worth treasuring. Dugu Xiao Yi said with a hint of mischief in her voice. That's impossible. Jun Yi is definitely not that kind of person. Miao Xiao Miao smiled lightly and replied confidently. Do you think we're all like this evil monarch who's fickle in love? My Jun Yi is deeply in love, single-minded, and loyal. Ha! Hearing that, Dugu Xiao Yi and the rest burst into laughter. Even Mei Shuiyan and Guan Qinghan couldn't help but smile. All right. Seeing that Guan Qinghan's side had finished recording, Mei Shuiyan said, we'll go take a look around. You guys sit here for a while. Yeah, don't you have something to say to Miss Miao? We won't disturb the two of you anymore. After saying that, the girls stood up and giggled. Mei Shuiyan didn't forget to ask Xiaoying to leave as well. In an instant, only Jun Moxie and Miao Xiao Miao were left in the room. When the girls left, their expressions were very strange, as if they were waiting to see a joke. The way they looked at Miao Xiao Miao was even more ambiguous. This kind of gaze caused Miao Xiao Miao to truly panic. As the saying goes, you can't judge a book by its cover. Although this Jun Moxie looked good, she still didn't know what he was like. If this person was really like what Mo Wudao had described, what should she do? Just as Miao Xiao Miao was in a daze, the room was completely empty. Miao Xiao Miao was even more flustered. Manor Lord Jun? What do you want to say to me? Can't you say it in front of all these sisters? Miao Xiao Miao's face was filled with unconcealable panic. It was obvious that this lass was already prepared to run away. As long as Jun Moxie made the slightest move, this lass would probably jump out like a rabbit. At the very least, a cry of help was already at the tip of her tongue. This couldn't be blamed on Miao Xiao Miao for being timid. It was just that a certain someone's image was a little too, I'm just having a casual chat with you. No need to be so nervous. Jun Moxie was also thinking, how should I bring it up? I already have a husband. He loves me very much. I love him too. I won't like anyone else. My husband has the legendary free and natural physique. He's very powerful. You don't mess around. The moment she heard casual chat, Miao Xiao Miao became even more afraid. You want to have a casual chats with me the first time we meet? What can I casually chat with you about? Cough cough, I know that you have a husband. Jun Moxie thought. Your husband is right in front of you, but you still haven't recognized him, I say. Xiao Miao. Jun Moxie spread out his hands helplessly. Shut up. Miao Xiao Miao had already exploded. With a cold face, she hollered. Manor Lord Jun, I respect that you're a hero, but please don't go overboard. The evil monarch manor may be powerful, but my misty mansion is not one to be trifled with. Manor Lord Jun should pay attention to the way you address me. The title Xiao Miao is not something that just anyone can call me. Her voice was stern and her face was cold. She didn't even spare a glance at this world-famous evil monarch and directly scolded him. Actually, what's so good about that Mo Junyi? Not only is he ugly, he's only a golden xian. Is there a need to treat him like a treasure? Even if he has that legendary free and natural physique, it'll take at least 100 years for him to reach my level. Look at how good I am, aren't I stronger than him? If you don't believe me, you can compare for yourself. Jun Moxie chuckled and said shamelessly, Manor Lord Jun, Are you really trying to incite a war between our two families? Miao Xiao Miao looked at him Lengling. What has it got to do with you whether Mo Junyi is good or not? How can my husband be slandered by you like this? I only feel that Manor Lord Jun is thinking too highly of himself. In my eyes, you can't be compared to my Junyi in any way. Jun Moxie was speechless. This was too awkward, and there was no way for him to continue speaking. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and an idea came to his mind. Looking at Miao Xiao Miao, he said softly, "You're so dirty after going through the heavenly tribulation. There's a small pool over there, shall we take turns to scrub your back?" These were the exact words that Mo Junyi had said to Miao Xiao Miao after they had gone through the heavenly tribulation. "You let your..." Miao Xiao Miao had just cursed out when she instantly felt that something was wrong. She widened her eyes and looked at Jun Moxie. She would never forget the words "take turns to scrub your back." Because right after she said those words, her virginity was snatched away by someone. Heaven as the chessboard, stars as the chess pieces, who dares to play? The earth as the pipa, the road as the strings, who dares to play? Jun Moxie looked at Miao Xiao Miao and smiled gently. Thunder as the battle drum, lightning as the flag, who dares to fight? Miao Xiao Miao's body swayed violently, and she almost fell to the ground. A few incoherent moans came out from her throat, and her eyes became dazed. Chapter 1089. Perhaps the people in the Misty Mansion would spread this couplet, but thunder as the war drum, lightning as the flag, who dares to fight? When she and Mo Junyi were undergoing the heavenly tribulation, Mo Junye's words were only known to the two of them. But Jun Moxie actually said it out loud. How did he know? Could it be that he, "Silly lass, you still can't recognize me?" Jun Moxie smiled helplessly. "Am I so hard to recognize?" As he said that, he turned to face Miao Xiao Miao and rubbed his face a few times. Slowly his handsome features disappeared, and a simple face appeared in front of Miao Xiao Miao. "Mo Jun?" Miao Xiao Miao's eyes widened as she retreated step by step. Her eyes were filled with panic. You're Junyi?" Jun Moxie smiled bitterly and nodded his head. "Xiao Miao, it's me." Miao Xiao Miao's body trembled a few times, and she suddenly fell to the ground without a sound. She actually fainted. Jun Moxie's eyes and hands were sharp, and he hurriedly rushed forward and carried her in his arms. After a while, Miao Xiao Miao woke up slowly. But her usually clear eyes were filled with confusion, as though she was in a dream. Suddenly, she saw Jun Moxie's face above her, and she suddenly choked with sobs. "Junyi, did you know? I had a nightmare just now. I dreamt that the evil monarch had lustful thoughts towards me, and he even said things that only you and I know. But that's not all. He actually changed into your appearance. I'm so scared, I'm really scared." Jun Moxie sighed lightly and said gently, "Silly lass, you're not dreaming, it's all real." "Really? Is it true? Is it true?" Miao Xiao Miao looked at the lover in front of her in a daze. Suddenly, she struggled out of his embrace and looked around at her surroundings. Her face was filled with an indescribable sense of melancholy. She abruptly turned her head and looked at Jun Moxie, who was still maintaining Mo Junye's appearance. Her eyes were fixed on his face. He gritted his teeth and said, "Jun, tell me this isn't real. Tell me." Jun Moxie painfully closed his eyes and said woodenly, "Xiao Miao, this is the truth. This is the truth. I have always been Jun Moxie. Mo Junyi is just an avatar of mine, a non-existent person. No, that's not it. This can't be true, this can't be. You lied to me. You lied to me just to get me. I won't believe you, I won't believe you." Miao Xiao Miao screamed shrilly as she stared fixedly at Jun Moxie. But her feet were still retreating step by step, shaking her head agitatedly. Even so, her beautiful eyes betrayed her emotions, and tears were already welling up in them. Even though the truth was cruel, it was still the truth. Suddenly, Miao Xiao Miao's feet accidentally touched the chair behind her and she fell to the ground with a plop. Based on Miao Xiao Miao's cultivation of a martial venerable, not to mention a chair behind her, even if it was a bottomless cliff or a fatal trap, it might not be able to make her fall like this. However, she had fallen so pathetically. It was obvious that she had completely lost control of her mind. Xiao Miao? Jun Moxie's eyes were filled with pity and he reached out to pull her up. Don't touch me. You bad person, you're not allowed to touch me. Miao Xiao Miao yelled with all her might, stubbornly crawling up from the ground. But her tears were like pearls from a broken necklace, and her body was trembling uncontrollably. You who are Mo Junyi? Mo Junyi is Jun Moxie? Jun Moxie is my Mo Junyi? Miao Xiao Miao smiled bitterly and looked at Jun Moxie, blood seeping out from the corner of her mouth. That smear of red completely shocked Jun Moxie. Yes, Xiao Miao, I didn't mean to lie to you. Really am Mo Junyi in this? Jun Moxie hurriedly explained. Regarding this situation, he was already mentally prepared, but he still didn't expect that Miao Xiao Miao's reaction would be so huge and so intense. Shut up! Miao Xiao Miao shouted angrily. You still don't want to lie to me? Pa. She laughed bitterly. You don't want to lie to me? How do you plan to lie to me? You've already lied to me about everything, you've lied to me. I have nothing left. Miao Xiao Miao's body trembled violently and she suddenly shouted with all her strength, You've lied to me about everything, don't you know? Don't you know? What else do you want to lie to me? I have nothing left. But this is also good. I have nothing left, so I'm not afraid of you lying to me anymore. Jun Moxie looked at her in a daze, his heart suddenly aching, but he couldn't say anything. Jun Moxie, do you know how blissful I was before this? Miao Xiao Miao's tears slowly flowed down her fair cheeks, flowed past the corner of her mouth and slowly dripped onto the ground. Not long later, the ground was already covered in a puddle of water. But she didn't even wipe it away and just let the tears flow freely. Blood dripped down from the corner of her mouth, slowly dyeing the puddle of tears red. My Jun. He doesn't have unparalleled martial arts and looks very ordinary, but he is the only man that I, Miao Xiao Miao, acknowledge. Miao Xiao Miao said sorrowfully, he is the person I love the most. Did you know? Did you know? I even naively thought that he was the person who loved me the most, but it turns out that I was wrong. This was all a scam, a complete scam. Do you know how proud I am of him? How satisfied I am? Being able to have Junyi is my lifetime's happiness. Miao Xiao Miao said softly, a desolate sweetness on her face. Junyi told me that he already has a wife, but I don't care, I can be his concubine. As long as I can be with Junyi, I don't care about anything else. Junyi is gentle, he has a wealth of knowledge. The moment he appeared in the Misty Mansion, he used the weakest cultivation in the entire Misty Mansion to stir up the biggest storm in the Misty Mansion. I am proud of him. I am Mo Junyi's wife. I am his woman. No matter how lowly his status is, no matter how down and out he is. I am willing, even more willing. The sky as the tent, the earth as the bed, the wind as the delicacies, the rain as the wine, the clouds as the wedding dress, the fog as the curtains, the thunder as the betrothal gift, and the lightning as the matchmaker. I, Miao Xiao Miao, have decided to marry Mo Junyi. Miao Xiao Miao smiled miserably. I offer my body, my heart, my soul, my everything to the person I love the most. If there is no Mo Junyi, Miao Xiao Miao is just an empty shell. Miao Xiao Miao's expression suddenly turned solemn, her voice hollow. But now you are telling me that there is no such person as Mo Junyi in this world? Everything is fictitious. Everything has never existed. The free and natural physique is fake. Mo Junyi is fake. Miao Xiao Miao said sorrowfully. Jun Moxie, how can you be so cruel? You destroyed my dream. You destroyed my everything. You are so cruel. Why must you do this to me? Since you have already lied to me, why don't you continue lying? I would rather never know that even if Junyi does not return, he will still be in my heart, eternally inextinguishable. Why must you be so cruel? You must expose this lie and destroy my hopes. You are so cruel, you are really so cruel. Meow Xiao Meow said softly, her voice gradually becoming weaker. Xiao Meow. The Mo Junyi in the Misty Mansion, other than his identity being an illusion, his knowledge, his mind, everything about him is also real, that is the other real me. Jun Moxie said softly, now that I am here, isn't it good for me to return the most real me to you? Not good. The one I love is only Mo Junyi. From the start, there has only been Mo Junyi. Not Jun Moxie. Meow Xiao Meow looked at him with tears all over her face. It's you who killed my Junyi. It's you. You made my Junyi disappear forever. The sorrowful expression on Meow Xiao Meow's face suddenly turned venomous. Jun Moxie, evil monarch. Isn't it very satisfying to toy with a woman like this? Seeing a woman give up her feelings, love, chastity, loyalty, everything for a mere illusion, and then you personally crush it. Crush everything. With a flip of your hand, you summon clouds and rain, causing a woman in your grasp to be consigned to eternal damnation. Isn't that feeling of having everything in your grasp very satisfying? Isn't it? She pressed forward step by step, her eyes filled with tears, but she did not blink at all, her expression extremely mournful. Enough. Jun Moxie roared in a low voice, then continued in a distressed tone. Xiao Meow, don't misunderstand my words. Can you calm down and listen to my explanation? Explanation? All right, I'm waiting for your explanation. Who would be able to reject the evil monarch's words? Meow Xiao Meow glared at him fiercely. Since you want to explain, I'll listen to your explanation. But before that, please don't taint my Junyi anymore. Don't let the face of the person I love hang on a liar like you. Change it for me. Change it. Jun Moxie sighed and removed Mo Junye's disguise, reverting back to his original appearance. Meow Xiao Meow stared at him, staring fixedly at him, staring fixedly at Mo Junye's face as it faded bit by bit. She stared so intently, so stubbornly, so passionately, so reluctantly, but it was also so despairing. It was the despair of watching her lover leave with her own eyes, of watching her lover leave her forever, but there was nothing she could do. The despair of the heavens and earth. In her eyes, as the face of Mo Junyi slowly disappeared from Jun Moxie's face, her eyes also lost their luster, slowly becoming empty. Chapter 1090. Today is the third night. The fourth night will be slightly later. Xiao Meow. I'm here. Jun Moxie's body trembled as he grabbed her hand. Don't touch me. You're not worthy of this name, you liar. Meow Xiao Meow's eyes cleared up and she flung his hand away fiercely. She forcefully pulled her hand back and rubbed it on her clothes. Then she lowered her head and remained motionless. The trembling of her body gradually stopped. She waited until her trembling had completely stopped. Then she took 2 deep breaths. Her breathing was so forceful that Jun Moxie could clearly feel that her breath seemed to have caused her petite body to swell up for a moment before it disappeared. Then, Meow Xiao Meow raised her head and looked at Jun Moxie. She smiled and said, Manor Lord Jun, didn't you want to explain? I'm listening to your explanation. I'm waiting for your explanation. Her voice suddenly became very calm. But this calmness was like a deathly stillness. Jun Moxie felt a pain in his heart. Meow Xiao Meow's face was deathly pale. Although she was smiling, her eyes were filled with the color of death. Judging from the current situation, no matter what kind of explanation he had, she would not listen to it. Jun Moxie sighed in his heart. He felt a throbbing pain in his heart. Xiao Meow, the situation that day was like this. Ever since I started cultivating in Xianqi, my speed of advancement has exceeded the imagination of the world. In just a few years, I've already reached the height of the Holy Emperor. Although Jun Moxie knew that it was useless to explain, he had no choice but to do so now. Having lived 2 lives, he had never felt as guilty as he did now. And he had never felt as difficult as he did right now. With success in Xianqi, one's lifespan will naturally be longer. Xiao Yi and Qing Han have always been following me. It can be said that they have deep feelings for each other. But the problem in front of us is... June Moxie sighed deeply. I may be able to maintain my appearance for hundreds or thousands of years. So can Shui Yen. But others are destined not to be able to do so, because their cultivation has not reached that height. In other words, no one has the ability to do so. Xian Qi can only slow down aging, but it cannot maintain one's appearance forever. Even if they cultivate to the Holy Emperor level like me, they will still not be able to withstand the erosion of time. This problem may not matter to men, but it is for women. Shui Yen and I can maintain our appearance forever because we have another opportunity. June Mo Xie skimmed over this topic. To a woman, if she sees her lover and sisters able to retain their youthful looks and not age, while she herself has to face the moment of aging, that is undoubtedly an extremely cruel thing. I don't want to see them sad in the future, and I don't want to lose them. They are my women, so I will naturally love them with all my ability. June Moxie said deeply, however, there's only one way to solve the problem of aging, and that's to consume the exquisite lotus and the 7-colored holy fruit at the same time. Apart from that, there is no other way. As June Moxie spoke up to hear, Miao Xiao Miao's eyes flickered, and she said indifferently, so you set your sights on the Heaven Saint Palace and the Misty Mansion? For the person you love? That's right, June Moxie said. In Chrysanthemum City, I will fight against the 3 holy lands, and the bargaining chip is the exquisite lotus. In the end, they lost, so I went to the Heaven Saint Palace, and according to the bet, I obtained the exquisite lotus, and you have already experienced the fruits of the exquisite lotus that I cultivated. As for the 7-colored holy fruit, it's even more difficult to obtain it. The first problem is that I have no way of entering the misty illusory manner, so, when I was in Chrysanthemum City, I'd planted a hint of the free and natural physique. Then, you used your so-called free and natural physique to swindle Chao Guifeng's trust, and you even set up obstacles along the way, making them spend so much effort to send you into the Misty Mansion. Miao Xiao Miao laughed coldly. Evil Monarch, what a good scheme, what a good scheme. Everyone is played in the palm of your hand. Before this, I've only heard of the phrase, turning the clouds with a flip of the hand, and rain with a flip of the hand. But Lord Monarch, you have truly shown this little girl what it means to have clouds with a flip of the hand, and rain with a flip of the hand. That's right. I finally entered the Misty Mansion as I wished. My original plan was to find the 7-colored holy fruit, then steal it silently and leave. After I succeeded, Mo Junyi would completely disappear. As for the 7-colored holy tree that I obtained, I would not let anyone see it, and I believe that no one would suspect me. Since the topic had already been brought out, June Moxie did not hide anything. He did not say anything. But you did not expect that the 7-colored holy tree was actually not in the Misty Mansion, but in another independent space. So you used the same trick again, and set your sights on me. Miao Xiao Miao chuckled coldly. I have to say, a silly lass like me is really too easy to deceive. No wonder you would set your sights on me, and the truth has proven that you succeeded. Your schemes are flawless. The truth is not like that. June Moxie said angrily. From the start to the end, I have never thought of making use of you. From entering the Misty Mansion, to Gu Feiyu's provocation, and then I retaliated, to the Zhan family's challenge, Xiao Miao, when have I ever made use of you? Manor Lord June, please do not call me Xiao Miao. Miao Xiao Miao exploded. This is a form of address that only my closest kin have the right to use. You are not worthy. You do not have the right. June Moxie took a deep breath and said, Fine, I will not call you that. After I figured out the whole story, I tried my best to obtain a slot to enter the Misty Mansion's spiritual herbal gardens. That bet with the Zhan family was also for this reason. As for your slot, I have never thought of taking it for myself. You will not deny this, right? Miao Xiao Miao's eyes were empty as she turned to the side and nodded slowly. It's just that the affairs of the world are too mysterious. Plans will never be faster than changes. After the Zhan family failed, They were unwilling and determined to get rid of me. But it was you who risked your life to save me. Although I was grateful, I also made up my mind to keep a distance from you. Because this kind of friendship, I cannot afford it. I knew that if I had dated you back then, when the day came when the truth was revealed, it would most likely end up like this. I do not dare. Nor can I afford it. So, when you went to find me that day, I deliberately brought up the matter of you having another wife outside and rejected you. June Moxie squeezed his eyes shut and said, I really did not want to hurt you. But you were far more infatuated and determined than I had imagined. After you returned that day, you actually fell into a coma? June Moxie gasped in pain. Your infatuation, your determination, forced me to a dead end. I could not watch you fall into an eternal slumber like that, so I chose to save you. Even if I'm the so-called evil monarch with a huge influence and powerful strength, I'm still a man at the end of the day. You're such a beautiful and gentle woman, and you're so deeply in love with me. How could I not be tempted? How could I not like you? From the moment I decided to save you, I had already treated you as my woman. My, June Moxie's woman? June Moxie's voice was low as he said, Perhaps you don't know? My mother, because of my father's accidental death, fell into a deep sleep under extreme grief, just like you. She slept for a whole 10 years, and she would rather be immersed in her dreams than wake up. Mother's pain, mother's love, let me know that I cannot let the tragedy happen to you again. So, no matter what I have to face, I must wake you up and keep you by my side. June Moxie looked at her firmly. I will give you happiness. Since I have made my choice, I will not hesitate, nor will I regret it. From that moment on, I have never run away from our feelings. June Moxie said in a low voice. Until I left, until now, my feelings for you are true. Is Manor Lord June done? Meow Xiao Meow smiled faintly and said coldly, And, are you done explaining? When June Moxie heard that, he knew that she did not hear much of it, and he could not help but sigh. Perhaps it's just like you said, everything you do has its own reasons. Meow Xiao Meow said softly. You treat your wives well, for them, you can do anything to obtain the elixir of immortality for them. This is what you should do as a man, as a husband. I understand you, and I don't even blame you. But, have you ever thought about how many people you have hurt with this action? In the Misty Mansion, Chao Guofeng and the other 7 holy emperors saw you as the hope of the 7 of them, and they treated you with even more affection than their own sons and nephews. But you lied to them. From the beginning to the end, you lied to them through and through. Also, all the elders in the Misty Mansion saw you as the future hope of the Misty Mansion, and they all chose to support you with all their strength. As for you, you deceived them all the same. As for me, you do not need to feel guilty. You did not lie to me. Meow Xiao Meow smiled sadly and said, I am not being sarcastic, I am speaking from the bottom of my heart. My husband is Mo Junyi. My husband is Mo Junyi. He did not lie to me, he treated me very well, really well. I am his wife, his woman. But he is no longer here. Mo Junyi is still here. I am Mo Junyi. June Moxie roared, You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.